Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound of swaying grass echoed endlessly within the dim jungle. Swift mutant wolves, each over 2 meters long, covered in coarse black fur with a row of sharp-boned spurs protruding along their spines, paced slowly out from the depths of the tree shade. Bloody scarlet light glinted within their narrow eyes, locked firmly onto the 3 intruders on the sandy shore. Saliva dripped from their jagged, razor-sharp jaws, hissing and wisping faint white smoke as it corroded the dark soil below. First-order mutant wolves, and an entire pack, numbering more than 30. Su Qinghan's clear, beautiful eyes narrowed sharply. Without the slightest hesitation, she drew a self-defense pistol looted from the wreckage of Zhao Tianyu's warship out of the thigh holster. Click! A bullet was chambered. Her fair, slender hands gripped the handle tightly, the muzzle sweeping across the foremost alpha wolves, her expression calm and resolute. Beside her, Yilinger quickly stashed the leftover chicken bone, bright green light flickering wildly between her small palms. Wood element catalysis or vine entanglement. With her youthful shout, several thigh-thick black ancient vines covered in venomous hooked thorns twisted upward like giant serpents surging from the earth, weaving together right before them. A sturdy barrier of timber rose into place. Within the endless ocean, a pack of first-order mutant wolves spelled catastrophic doom for any survivor squad. But Qi Yuan only glanced indifferently at the pack of mutant beasts. He slung his armor-piercing crossbow onto his back, then slowly wrapped his hand around the matte black Tonto sword hilt at his waist. Qinghan Linger stepped back. Qi Yuan pushed the guard gently with his thumb, and the high-frequency oscillation Tonto sword slid half an inch out of its sheath in an instant. Hum! A faint, nearly imperceptible vibration of the rapidly oscillating blade rippled softly through the woods. A cold grin slowly tugged at the corner of Qi Yuan's mouth. This pack of beasts will serve perfectly to test my new blade. Hearing his words, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger froze. Close-quarters combat? Qi Yuan intended to fight these wolves with fur harder than steel and lightning-fast speed, using only a blade? Roar! Before the 2 girls could utter a word to dissuade him, the 2 largest mutant wolves at the front let loose a furious howl. Powerful hind legs slammed hard against the dark earth, sending swathes of withered leaves swirling into the air as they pounced through the air, jaws aimed straight for Qi Yuan's head. Whoosh! In that split second, Qi Yuan's figure transformed into a cold, dark phantom streak. Instead of retreating, he charged boldly straight into the encirclement. Facing the 2 giant wolves diving toward him, Qi Yuan twisted his body at an uncanny angle mid-leap. The Tonto sword swept horizontally. Sizzle! No deafening clash of metal, no dull resistance of slicing flesh and bone. Operating at 20,000 oscillations every second, the high-frequency blade vaporized and melted through the wolves' steel-hard fur and skulls within a fraction of a second of contact, erasing their defenses completely. As the blade passed, 2 massive black wolf heads soared into the air. Scalding jet black wolf blood geysered upward, staining the dark tree trunks all around. Qi Yuan did not pause for even a heartbeat. His form moved with astonishing lightness and agility amid the mist-shrouded ancient woodland. His passive skill ruler of black mist activated to its fullest. The toxin-laden dense black mist filling the air surged into his body in vast quantities as he fought, converted into pure vitality and stamina 100-fold. Endless stamina, no erosion of sanity. Qi Yuan struck faster and faster. Streaks of blade light wove a lethal, artistically brutal net of slaughter beneath the shadowed canopy. Every swing of the sword brought down a mutant wolf, its spine severed or torso melted clean through without fanfare. Ding! First-order mutant wolf eliminated. Mutation points plus 20. Ding! First-order mutant wolf eliminated. Mutation points plus 20. Mutation point balance skyrocketing. The system alerts chimed relentlessly inside his mind, like pouring rain. This was an utterly one-sided massacre. These wild beasts, which ordinary survivors could barely hold off with heavy weaponry and carefully constructed defenses, were no tougher than stalks of wheat before Qi Yuan, armed with his oscillating blade and unlimited stamina. In less than 10 minutes, all 30-plus first-order swift mutant wolves lay scattered as mangled corpses across the ground, the air thick with hot, metallic blood scent. Qi Yuan stood amid the remains, not a single drop of wolf blood staining his black stab-resistant suit. A light breeze stirred the foliage. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger clung tightly to the vine barrier, utterly stunned, their minds gone blank. Su Qinghan's pistol, already loaded, never fired a single shot. The battle ended entirely as a solo display of overwhelming combat prowess by Qi Yuan. How could any human wield such terrifying close combat power? He moved like an unstoppable reaper wandering the depths of the abyss. Crack! The giant wolf alpha attempted a sneak attack from behind, but Qi Yuan did not turn his head. A backward thrust drove the sword straight through its skull, pinning the beast to the dark soil. Qi Yuan grasped the hilt and pulled smoothly free. The blade vibrated violently, instantly atomizing all traces of blood into mist, leaving the metal surface spotless. System panel. Current mutation point balance, 980 points. Mutation points accumulated at a staggering pace, as if he were grabbing riches straight from thin air. Qi Yuan strode forward. Beneath the two girls' awestruck, admiring gazes, he planted 1 foot atop the massive corpse of the alpha wolf. He slowly turned toward the deepest, shadowed reaches of the wolf den. There, centered on a rough altar forged from ancient dark iron, rested a chest glowing with dazzling, noble silvery luminescence, a silver-grayed treasure chest. His boots trod upon the damp, soft dark soil. Towering ancient trees overhead formed a dense canopy, blocking most of the harsh sunlight. Light dimmed sharply within the jungle. The air carried the moldy stench of decaying leaves mixed with a faint briny reek of the deep ocean. Rustle, 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 rustle. The sound of shifting undergrowth grew steadily louder throughout the silent woods. It sounded as though slippery creatures darted rapidly through the thick bushes. Su Qinghan drew a deep breath, a grave look crossing her clear eyes. One hand rested on the hilt of her blade, while her other slender hand reached quickly into the utility pouch fastened to her waist. She pulled out the heavy self-defense pistol glinting with cold metallic sheen. Click! The crisp sound of a bullet chambering cut sharply through the silent woodland. She gripped the gun firmly with both hands, sweeping the muzzle across the shadowed recesses ahead. Beside her, Yilinger hastily tucked her half-eaten roasted chicken into her coat pocket. She bit her lip, wide eyes fixed rigidly forward, and blinding emerald-green light suddenly erupted from her delicate palms. Wood element catalysis, O vine bulwark. At Yilinger's youthful command, thick ancient vines as sturdy as steel sprouted around the yacht and beneath their feet, twisting violently as her power awakened them from dormancy. Crack! Crack! The vines intertwined rapidly, erecting a 2-meter-tall black wooden shield studded with sharp venomous thorns in front of the two girls in the blink of an eye. It sheltered them securely from harm. Roar! Before they could finish readying their defenses, a ferocious, gurgling wolf howl boomed out of the darkness ahead. Giant beasts over 2 meters long, covered in black needle-like fur, stepped slowly from the shadows beneath the trees. First-order sea mutants, swift mutant wolves. These giant wolves possessed imposing frames. Neat rows of curved white bone spurs jutted from their backs and spinal joints. Within the dim woodland, the spurs glinted with a chilling pale radiance. Thick, viscous saliva flecked with faint blue biochemical luminescence dripped continuously from their jaws. Sizzle. Where the saliva struck the dark soil, it burned finger-sized holes ringed with charred white smoke into the leaf litter and earth. 1, 2, 10. In less than 30 seconds, more than 30 first-order mutant wolves emerged in orderly formation from the shaded trees. They spread out in a semicircle surrounding the group, scarlet compound eyes blazing with feral red light, low rumbling snarls vibrating in their throats. Qi Shan, Yilinger's face paled slightly as she cast a pleading glance toward the dark figure ahead. Qi Yuan stood with his back to the two young women. He stroked his chin calmly. Next, he slung his heavy armor-piercing crossbow onto his back. His empty hand slowly settled onto the hilt of his matte black Tanto sword. This pack of beasts will serve perfectly to test my new blade. Qi Yuan pushed the guard aside with his thumb. The black high-frequency oscillation Tanto sword slid half an inch free of its sheath. Hum. A faint vibration barely visible to the naked eye rippled outward, warping the surrounding air like an invisible sound wave spreading through the dim jungle. The blade tip glowed with dangerous crimson light in the faint illumination. At this moment, a cold, ruthless smile stretched slowly across Qi Yuan's face. Roar! Enraged by Qi Yuan's taunting expression, the two largest first-order mutant wolves surged forward, scarlet eyes blazing brighter. They unleashed a furious roar, driving their powerful hind legs against the dark ground. Withered leaves swirled into the air as their massive bodies leaped upward, blood-flecked jaws lined with fangs diving straight toward Qi Yuan's skull. Whoosh! Qi Yuan's figure vanished in an instant, transforming into a cold, eerie dark streak moving across the ground. Instead of evading, He charged boldly forward, plunging directly into the encirclement formed by more than 30 mutant wolves. Facing the two giant beasts leaping toward him, Qi Yuan twisted his body into a tricky angle mid-air. The Tonto sword sliced through the air. Sizzle. No sharp clang of metal striking flesh, no dragging resistance as the blade cut through bodies. The high-frequency blade oscillated 20,000 times each second. Within a fraction of a second upon making contact with the wolf's needle-like fur and tough skulls, molecular friction generated by its vibrations melted and vaporized all their natural defenses. Two enormous wolf heads arced upward into the air. Scalding dark brown blood reeking of sharp brine geysered from the severed necks, instantly staining the surrounding dark tree trunks a terrifying deep crimson. A woo! The death of their kin did not drive the pack away. Instead, it ignited their wild bloodlust completely. The remaining mutant wolves howled furiously, surging forward one after another as dark blurs, lunging at Qi Yuan from every direction. Yet they faced Qi Yuan, bearer of the passive skill ruler of black mist. Within this ancient forest perpetually shrouded in black mist and radiation, Qi Yuan was immune to all negative status effects. His ruler of black mist passive continuously drew the mist permeating the air, converting it into pure vitality and stamina that flooded his body tenfold, 100-fold over. Endless stamina. Sanity remained unimpaired. Qi Yuan struck faster and faster. The black high-frequency Tonto sword wove a brutal, mesmerizing net of slaughter beneath the dim woodland canopy. His footwork flowed as gracefully as a dance, and every slash silently cleaved a mutant wolf clean in two. Ding. First-order mutant wolf eliminated. Mutation points plus 20. Ding. Mutation points plus 20. Ding. Mutation points plus 20. System alerts chimed rapidly inside his mind, crisp and non-stop like a string of firecrackers. This was an utterly one-sided massacre. These giant beasts, which ordinary survivors would struggle to repel even with heavy artillery and layered fortifications, were as fragile as grain stalks before Qi Yuan, armed with his oscillating blade and unlimited stamina. In less than 10 minutes, all 30-plus first-order swift mutant wolves were reduced to scattered mangled corpses strewn across the ground. The air hung heavy with thick, acrid, hot blood. Qi Yuan stood amid the wreckage, not a single drop of wolf blood marring his black nano-stab-resistant suit. Wind rustled through the tree leaves. Behind him, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger gripped the vine barrier, completely stunned, their thoughts grinding to a halt. Su Qinghan still held her loaded pistol, yet she never managed to pull the trigger even once. The fight that had seemed near certain death from their perspective concluded entirely through Qi Yuan's overwhelming individual strength. He moved like an undying dark war god roaming the abyss. Crack. The massive wolf alpha attempted a surprise attack from behind. Without turning around, Qi Yuan drove his sword backward straight through its skull, pinning the beast to the dark soil. Qi Yuan grasped the hilt and pulled steadily free. The blade vibrated intensely, instantly turning clinging wolf blood into drifting mist, leaving the metal polished and clean. System panel. Current mutation point balance, 980 points. Mutation points accumulated at such speed it felt almost like looting treasure. Qi Yuan strode forward. Beneath the two girls' reverent, admiring gazes, he planted one foot on the giant corpse of the alpha wolf. He slowly turned toward the deepest shadowed recesses of the wolf den. There, centered on a rough altar forged from ancient dark iron, rested a chest glowing with dazzling, noble silvery radiance, a silver-grayed treasure chest. On the sun-scorched shore, more than a dozen battered steam wooden sailing ships surrounded Qi Yuan's 10-meter yacht, blocking every escape route. Captain, this iron shell is far too tough. Our machetes have all bent, and we can't leave even a scratch. A pirate with a jagged scar across his face wiped sweat from his forehead and shouted in frustration. The black, heavily armored yacht trapped in the center was fully clad in titanium alloy bulletproof plating. No matter how the vicious pirates hammered at its hull with stones and hacked at it with blades, they only produced faint sparks, unable to carve even a single mark. From the shaded edge of the jungle, Qi Yuan stood with the two young women and Ah Dai the hound, watching the pirates sweating profusely beneath the blazing sun, behaving like clowns. Instead of feeling panicked, Qi Yuan almost found the scene amusing. Qinghan Linger, we'll board through the rear pressure watertight hatch. Ignore these fools for now. Let them bake in the sun for a while longer. Qi Yuan tilted his head and winked at the two girls behind him. Then, shielded by lingering black mist, The three humans and the dog circled silently toward the underwater sealed hatch at the yacht's stern. Hiss! With a faint rush of venting pressure, the hatch opened. Chi Yuan went first, leading the girls and Ah Dai as they slipped lightly inside the yacht. Warm, dry air wrapped around them the moment they stepped into the cabin. Chi Yuan had no immediate urge to go outside and deal with the pests surrounding the vessel. He intended to complete his most important task first. Qinghan, bring out the small hydraulic generator blueprint we acquired earlier, Chi Yuan instructed. He strode toward the engine compartment at the yacht's stern. A large metal mounting slot had been pre-installed here, with a thick titanium alloy drive shaft resting beside the main power cables. Chi Yuan summoned the system within his mind. System, consume 100 units of purple oilwood, 50 units of hematite copper ore, plus the salvaged scrap electrical wiring. Construct a small generator right here. Ding. Materials confirmed sufficient. Construction commencing. Hum. A burst of brilliant white light swirled and reorganized inside the engine compartment. A heavy 2-meter-tall generator forged from cold black titanium alloy materialized instantly within the mounting slot. This was still far from enough. System, allocate 200 of my accumulated mutation points. Carry out ultimate nuclear transmutation upgrade on this generator. Chi Yuan roared mentally. Ding. 200 mutation points deducted. Ultimate transmutation in progress. Hum. A surging tide of deep blue energy enveloped the entire generator. At the peak of the transformation, the white light shuddered violently. The system's pleasing notification chime boomed inside his mind. Transmutation successful. Congratulations, host. You have obtained high-efficiency self-circulating tidal generator. Properties. Built with polymer water flow impeller technology. It automatically harnesses velocity differentials generated as the yacht sails to conduct adaptive power generation without energy storage. Energy output has no upper limit. As the tidal generator locked firmly into the yacht's main power cable, a deep, nearly imperceptible low-frequency electromagnetic hum echoed from the power compartment. The next instant, within the yacht's once pitch-black, lifeless main cabin, click, click, rows of neatly embedded LED spotlights, warm overhead lamps and soft wall lights flickered on one after another, instantly flooding the living room, bedrooms and passageways with bright illumination. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The motor of the dual-zone, fully automatic constant-temperature air conditioner activated, sending forth steady cool air carrying a faint scent of perfume lilies. In one corner of the living room, the system transmuted side-by-side refrigerator lit up its cooling panel with pale green light, frigid mist beginning to swirl inside. Even in the bathroom, the control panel of the premium gravity-fed electric water heater glowed red, signaling that heating was underway. On the first day of survival in this world, while countless survivors suffered heatstroke without fresh water and resorted to raw meat for sustenance, Chi Yuan's yacht now had electricity. This meant they had bid farewell to primitive survival and stepped straight into the comforts of modern civilization. Wow, the fridge works. Yi Linger, the carefree food lover, let out a cheer. She kicked off her worn-out shoes, bare white feet pattering excitedly across the anti-slip carpet. She pulled open the refrigerator's refrigeration compartment and happily stowed the ripe watermelon and roasted chicken they had gathered earlier that day. Long live Chi Shun. We can have chilled watermelon now. Su Qinghan's beautiful eyes grew misty, tears welling up. As someone who valued cleanliness deeply, she could not stand the layer of sweat and sea salt covering her skin. Staring at the hot water indicator on the heater, which was already steaming gently, she grabbed her clothes and towel with flushed cheeks and hurried into the bathroom to draw water. Chi Yuan leaned comfortably against the large leather sofa in the living room. He pulled a newly chilled can of cola from the fridge. Click! The pull tab snapped open, bubbles swirling frantically within the dark brown liquid. Glug, glug, glug. Chi Yuan tilted his head back and drank more than half the can in one go. The icy carbonation burst in his stomach, opening every pore of his body in bliss. Burp. Chi Yuan let out a satisfying burp heavy with cola fumes. This was what real living felt like. Yet just as warmth filled every corner of the yacht. Bang, bang, bang. Far louder, thunderous pounding suddenly resounded against the armored hatch. Chi Yuan narrowed his eyes and activated the holographic monitoring screen before him. Outside the hatch stood a one-eyed pirate chieftain with an ugly scar slicing across his face, clutching a ghost-head broadsword and spitting insults. In his arms rested a black gunpowder explosive bundle reeking of sulfur, ready to blow the hatch open by force. Chi Yuan set down the cola can, the warmth in his gaze plummeting to freezing point in an instant. Having eaten and drunk my fill, He slowly rose from the sofa, cracking his knuckles with cold resolve. It's time to clear out the trash outside. Listen up, you cowards hiding inside. I know you're living it up in there. I'll smash your metal shell to bits today. At the edge of the beach, the scarred one-eyed pirate chieftain held aloft the smoking explosive bundle, shouting filthy threats toward the yacht. Hand over the silver treasure chest you found in the forest. If you don't open up now, I'll blow your ship and all of you straight to the sharks. Behind him, hundreds of pirates wielding rusted cleavers and spears roared menacingly. Some heaved large stones, hammering relentlessly against the yacht's armored hull. Out on the sea beyond the beach, numerous ordinary survivors drawn by the system's ruin announcement paddled crude wooden rafts, lingering cautiously within the mist. Pale-faced and terrified, they whispered among themselves. The pirate crew is attacking. That black vessel is doomed. That chieftain has explosives. Even iron plating can't withstand a blast. The ship's owner was too greedy. He should have fled after grabbing the silver chest. Not even a god can save him now. All onlookers expected Chi Yuan's defeat. Click. The explosion-proof hatch on the yacht's second deck slid open slowly. Chi Yuan stepped out beneath every pirate and survivor's stunned gaze. He wore matte black polymer stab-resistant armor and held a half-finished chilled cola. Sea wind swept through his black hair as he stood on the deck's edge, looking down at the pirates on the beach. There was no trace of fear in his eyes, only icy disdain, as if watching fools. You people! Chi Yuan took a sip of cold cola and burped. Are you blind? Haven't you noticed that thick black metal tube up on the second deck? The pirate chieftain froze. He instinctively followed Chi Yuan's gaze upward. At the top of the raised second deck stood a 2-meter-tall, matte black 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling turret, exuding crushing menace. Its barrel, wide enough to fit a fist, locked firmly onto their heads. What is that thing? The chieftain had no time to figure it out. Chi Yuan wasted no words on men marked for death. He exhaled a wisp of smoke and snapped his fingers sharply. VVVVVVV. Guided by the infrared auto-targeting system, the dormant metal war machine awakened. The 6 thick barrels spun into a blurred streak invisible to the naked eye. The shrill whir of rotating metal echoed like the Reaper's sigh from hell. The next second, rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. Blazing streaks of metal fire erupted from the muzzle, illuminating the night sky. It was merciless slaughter unleashed by overwhelming heavy firepower. 20mm armor-piercing rounds poured onto the beach like rain. Before the pirate chieftain could hurl his explosive, dense large-caliber bullets tore him and the bundle into drifting crimson mist and shrapnel midair. Boom! The explosive package detonated after being struck, blooming into a massive orange fireball above the sand. Shockwaves sent stones flying everywhere, yet the Gatling never ceased firing. Golden lines of fire raked across the shore. The pirates who had been jeering did not even have time to scream before they were shredded into blood and splinters. In under 3 seconds, dozens of pirates along with their dozen steamboats were completely erased. All that remained on the crowded beach were twisted metal scraps and seawater stained dark red by the melting snow. Far out at sea, survivors watching from wooden rafts trembled in abject terror. Thud! Thud! Staring at the smoking bullet casings and blood mist on the sand and the deadly black turret, many threw themselves onto their rafts and kowtowed toward the yacht, shaking violently, fearing the next volley would target them. All done. Let's head back. Chi Yuan released the trigger with lingering excitement and returned to the warm control cabin. The armored yacht rumbled cheerfully, cutting through waves as it sailed away from the island beneath the awestruck, frightened stares of every survivor. Chi Yuan sank back into the soft leather sofa and sipped his cola, opening the regional chat channel. His eyes narrowed the moment he saw the screen. After obtaining the first silver treasure chest on the island, countless hostile users were stirring up trouble in the channel, demanding he share blueprints through moral coercion. Worse still, someone had leaked his exact sea coordinates. Online harassment and far larger-scale conflict were brewing silently in the dark. The sea grew calm, moonlight gilding the dark waves with silver. The armored yacht plowed steadily forward across the boundless shallow sea. Inside the master bedroom, Su Qinghan, fresh from her warm bath and carrying a pleasant scent, brewed tea for Chi Yuan at the control console. Yi Linger held a box of chilled watermelon, cheeks stuffed, eyes crinkled in satisfaction. Meanwhile, seated in the holographic pilot's chair, Chi Yuan stared intently at the system chat interface projected before him. Flashing red highlights revealed a viral post dominating the regional channel. Its author was Zhou Bin, ID, Sea Region Judge Zhou Bin. Before crossing into this world, Zhou Bin had been a professional internet troll who profited from stoking conflict. Trapped in the endless sea with nothing but a leaky makeshift vessel, he burned with envy watching Qi Yuan feast aboard a well-equipped yacht. He typed a lengthy rant furiously on his wristband. Everyone, a disgrace has emerged in the Huaxia zone. That selfish man Qi Yuan. He seized the sole silver treasure chest from the island ruins. Inside lies the high-tech generator blueprint everyone needs. Instead of sharing the technology, he brutally murdered helpless civilian pirates who only went to him begging for drinking water, all to hoard the treasure. Heartless and lacking collective spirit, this wolf does not deserve to remain in the Huaxia zone. We must unite to boycott him. No one sells him iron, ore, or food. Those who have coordinates should band together to besiege his ship, seize his beef and fresh water. Zhou Bin's distorted, self-righteous post climbed to the top of the regional trending list within minutes. Starving, sunburnt survivors swarmed to echo his rage. The judge speaks the truth. Why should Qi Yuan live in luxury while we struggle in the sea? Boycott the greedy Qi Shun. Tear his ship apart and take his Wagyu beef. I have a damaged locator obtained from a treasure chest. Calculations confirm Qi Yuan is at sea coordinates 4512 northwest. Let's combine all our rafts. We will force him to hand over the generator and fishing nets to save fellow Huaxia survivors. Su Qinghan carried black tea to his side. She read the increasingly specific coordinate discussions on the holographic screen, clenching her small fists, anger blazing in her clear eyes. They are lying. Those pirates intended to break in and rob him. How can they twist the truth like this? Qi Yuan accepted the warm tea and took a sip. Instead of growing angry, a cold, cruel smirk crept onto his face. Trying online harassment and moral coercion against me? He wiped water from his lips and slowly stood from the leather sofa. I'll teach you that the internet is not a lawless place. Waste time typing arguments to clarify himself against irrational people? Qi Yuan had no patience, nor any desire to debate fools. The ultimate rule he lived by: act first, talk later. Qi Yuan opened the system trading hall and typed tracking, positioning in the search bar. Among dozens of advanced items, he made a lavish purchase, spending 200 units of pig iron to acquire a rare golden tier item precise IP coordinate tracker. Ding. Deducted pig iron times 200. Tracker activated within system storage. Commencing reverse tracking for regional channel ID, C region, Judge Zhou Bin. Ding. Tracking complete. Target, Zhou Bin. Current distance from host, northwest by north, 5 nautical miles, roughly 9 kilometers. 5 nautical miles. Qi Yuan watched the flickering red marker on the screen, killing intent surging to its peak. 9 kilometers took paddlers on flimsy rafts half a day to traverse. For his armored yacht fitted with 4 ion thrusters, it was merely a matter of pressing the throttle. First mate, return to your station and brace yourself. A cold, ruthless smile tugged at Qi Yuan's lips. We're going to chase down our internet troll. Boom! Ion exhaust flared vivid blue from the yacht's stern. The 10-meter black steel vessel carved a towering white wake across the sea, speeding through the night at impossible velocity. 5 nautical miles away, the sea ran cold. The keyboard warrior Zhou Bin huddled inside a ramshackle makeshift raft. Ice crusted the hull, freezing his legs. He chewed stale bread, scratching his stinking feet while typing furiously on his wristband, his face contorted with malicious glee. Qi Yuan, I'll drag your reputation through the mud today. He never finished sending his vicious message. RRRRRRR. A thunderous engine roar rolled forth from the distant black mist like thousands of galloping horses. RRRRRRR. The deafening roar ripped through the silent night sky. The armored yacht covered 5 nautical miles in merely 3 minutes. Fusion thrusters forced the seawater apart into towering walls surging to either side. Splash. Zhou Bin's flimsy raft spun wildly like a top in the massive wake churned up by the yacht. Icy seawater flooded inside, washing away his only quilt and stale bread. Help! A tidal wave. Zhou Bin screamed, clinging desperately to the mast, soaked to the bone by frigid waves. When the water calmed, he trembled and lifted his head nervously. What he saw nearly scared his soul away. A towering wall of dark reflective armored metal loomed directly before him like a mountain. High above on the second deck stood the 2-meter 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling turret, faint white smoke curling off its surface. Beneath cold moonlight, the barrel glinted with deadly metallic sheen. The turret's infrared scanning dot rested squarely in the center of Zhou Bin's forehead. Plop! Staring at the massive, black muzzle of the Gatling gun, wide enough to fit a fist, Zhou Bin's fingers trembled in fright. The positioning screen on his wristband slipped from his grasp and plunged straight down into the dark, frigid seawater. Qi Yuan held a mug of warm black tea and wore a heavy overcoat, one hand braced against the railing. He looked down from above with a cold, mocking gaze at the overweight man shaking beneath him. Zhou Bin, the Sea Region judge? Qi Yuan spoke slowly, his deep voice booming across the silent night sky. Earlier on the regional channel, you claimed you would rally thousands of rafts to board my vessel, seize all my supplies, and throw me overboard to feed the sea monsters. He tilted his head slightly, a bone-chilling smile tugging at his lips. Now here I am, arriving right at your coordinates. You were so loud and bold on the public chat. Come, make your move. A rush of cold dread washed over Zhou Bin. Online, he was the all-powerful Sea Region judge who passed judgment on everyone. But here, faced with this steel vessel and the Gatling's menacing barrel, he was nothing more than a destitute, helpless wreck. Thud! Zhou Bin's knees buckled. He crashed heavily onto the waterlogged wooden raft without hesitation. He began slapping his own face violently, slamming his forehead hard against the planks until blood streamed down, weeping uncontrollably. Lord Qi, I beg you. I was wrong, utterly wrong. It was all empty talk. I was just consumed by envy. Please show mercy and spare me. I will never dare act this way again. Have compassion. Watching Zhou Bin's pathetic, groveling display, Qi Yuan's eyes remained devoid of the slightest warmth. If he had been an ordinary person without a system, he would have been torn apart by hordes of envious players stirred up by Zhou Bin's incendiary words today. Those self-righteous trolls hiding behind screens turned out to be nothing but cowardly scum when confronted face to face. He would deal with people like this using unyielding force, with no wasted words. Qi Yuan leaped more than 2 meters down from the yacht and landed steadily on Zhou Bin's flimsy raft. Lord Qi. Zhou Bin reached out, hoping to cling to Qi Yuan's leg. But Qi Yuan lifted his foot in a lightning-fast kick empowered by system enhancements, striking Zhou Bin hard in the abdomen. Zhou Bin was sent flying like a bulky sack. Splash! He arced through the air and crashed into the pitch-black, toxic seawater thick with eerie mist. The icy water and poison fog swallowed him instantly. The health and sanity meters on his wristband plummeted rapidly. Zhou Bin thrashed wildly in the waves, choking on salt water. Standing at the bow, Qi Yuan's expression was stone cold. You love stirring up crowds, don't you? Go down into the sea and rally the sea monsters. Let's see if they take kindly to you. Qi Yuan huffed, brushed dust off his hands, and vaulted lightly back onto the heated yacht. Adi sniffed the air with distaste, as if the stench had contaminated the surroundings. The armored yacht turned. Its sturdy hull smashed Zhou Bin's dilapidated raft into splinters with a deafening crash, then sailed away into the wind. Back inside the warm, comfortable control cabin, Qi Yuan was about to settle onto the leather sofa to rest. Tap, tap, tap. Rapid footsteps echoed down the corridor behind him. Yi Linger hurried over, carefully cupping a clump of soil glowing faint turquoise. Her cute face flushed with excitement, her eyes shining like stars as she called out to Qi Yuan. Lord Qi, the seeds have sprouted. Hearing her elated shout, Qi Yuan perked up. He exchanged a glance with Su Qinghan, who had just finished washing up, and strode toward the spacious rear deck. On the titanium alloy flooring lay a 1 square meter patch of jet black, moist, fertile soil known as micro-ecological soil. Amid the lifeless expanse of ocean, filled only with metal and driftwood, it radiated the scent of nature. Yi Linger knelt beside the soil, her hair tied into playful twin ponytails. She took a deep breath, and vibrant, gentle emerald light surged from her palms. Wood element ability, life acceleration. Yi Linger closed eyes, pressing both small hands against the warm dark soil. Waves of emerald light rippled outward, enveloping the entire patch of earth. Under the watchful eyes of Qi Yuan and Su Qinghan, soft popping sounds emerged from the dirt. Pop, pop, pop. Watermelon and green vegetable seeds he had planted moments earlier broke open, sprouting delicate green seedlings at a visible rate under the nourishment of wood energy. The pulse of life reached its peak. The green seedlings stretched and spread, growing into thick, fuzzy watermelon vines that snaked across the anti-slip deck. Buds bloomed, yielding melons the size of millstones with dark lightning-shaped stripes across their rinds. The watermelons inflated rapidly, growing 10, 20, 30 centimeters wide. In less than half an hour, 3 huge, ripe watermelons weighing over 10 kilos each rested on the deck, releasing a sweet, ripe aroma. Beside them, Neat rows of crisp green leafy vegetables dotted the dark soil, glistening with dew. On the first day of this ocean survival world, when nearly every survivor struggled to find clean drinking water and suffered cracked lips from vitamin deficiency, fresh fruit and vegetables were growing on Qi Yuan's yacht deck. It was nothing short of a miracle. Yi Linger looked pale and covered in sweat after expending so much energy, yet she puffed out her chest proudly. Lord Qi, it's done. These watermelons and greens are completely safe to eat. Overjoyed, Qi Yuan ruffled her messy hair into a bird's nest. Well done. We're having a feast tonight. Qi Yuan pulled out his matte black high-frequency tang blade from his backpack. Shing! The blade slid free, carrying a frigid black glint. With one clean slash, he split one giant watermelon in half. Crack! The fruit split open, revealing vivid crimson, juicy flesh dotted with jet black seeds. Clear red juice dripped steadily onto the titanium deck, spreading a maddeningly sweet scent beneath the sun. Qi Yuan used wooden tongs to hand large slices to Su Qinghan and Yi Linger. Su Qinghan's clear eyes lit up. She took the slice and took a bite, letting the sweet, cool juice slide down her throat, sighing softly with satisfaction. Yi Linger devoured her slice eagerly, juice smearing across her cheeks like a fluffy hamster. Qi Yuan bit into his own slice. The flesh was soft and intensely sweet, its icy freshness washing away all weariness and heat deep in his bones. While everyone else gnawed moldy dry bread and suffered heat stroke, they sat aboard the yacht, cooled by air conditioning, enjoying chilled watermelon. It was an unimaginable luxury. Qi Yuan stood on the deck, watching schools of fish leap across the waves and holding his half-eaten watermelon. His eyes shifted, and a ruthless, mischievous grin spread across his face. First mate, take a photo for me. Qi Yuan activated the camera function on his light bracelet. He framed the dripping half-watermelon, the fresh greens held by Yi Linger, and Su Qinghan standing in the breeze, then captured the shot. Without hesitation, he sent the photograph to the regional chat channel, which had fallen silent following Zhou Bin's fall into the sea. A new round of resource trading was about to begin. Qi Yuan sat in the leather armchair on the two-story yacht, cool air flowing from the thermostat. A slice of dripping chilled watermelon rested in his hand. An automated fishing net hung over the side, continuously collecting scrap metal and plastic floating on the waves. Qi Yuan spat out a watermelon seed and slowly opened the system trading interface. He pinned the photograph to the top announcement of the Regional Public Trading Board. In the picture, the frosty, juicy watermelon slices glistened against the blue ocean, tantalizing beyond measure. Beneath the image, he typed a deliberately provocative message. The sea breeze is sweltering today. I asked Linger to ripen an ecological watermelon to cool us down. I have 100 gene of extra watermelon sliced up for trade. I will not accept worthless junk or moral pleas. I am only seeking advanced construction blueprints, silver ore, high-density refined copper, and rare precision electronic components. Stock is limited, first come, first served. The instant the post went live, the entire regional channel fell dead silent for several seconds before erupting into total chaos. Good heavens! Chilled watermelon? Am I seeing things? Even the rind would be a blessing. I'm suffering severe heat stroke. My tongue is cracked and bleeding. My crew has scurvy and desperately needs vitamins. I'll trade a silver-tier musket blueprint. I offer a high-density lithium cell and 20 units of silver, or I only want 5 gene. Lord Qi, take me in. I'll serve you faithfully just for a bite of watermelon. At this moment, faction leaders and merchant lords across the region cast aside all pride. Like wanderers dying of thirst in a desert, they flooded Qi Yuan's inbox with precious blueprints and vital materials they had risked their lives to gather. In these early survival days without fruits or vegetables, a small piece of vitamin-rich watermelon was as valuable as a life-saving panacea. Sipping cool black tea on his leather sofa, Qi Yuan became the region's most calculating trader. A 20-gram slice of watermelon, merely a casual snack to him, represented a last hope for others. His fingers raced across the screen as he finalized trades. Ding! Trade completed. Obtained. Fine-grade titanium armor plate blueprint ×1. Ding! Trade completed. Obtained. Silver or ×50 units. Ding! Trade completed. Obtained. Perfect grade high-density battery ×2. Ding! Trade completed. Obtained. Primary turbocharger blueprint ×1. System notifications chimed non-stop like a string of firecrackers. Within 1 hour, Qi Yuan's warehouse was nearly overflowing with rare high-tier materials and designs. All he had spent was 100 gene of melons grown in his micro-ecological soil. This massive haul covered 80% of all core steel and power components required to upgrade his armored yacht into a 100-meter destroyer. Su Qinghan logged the surging trade data on a holographic screen, staring in stunned disbelief. This was less trade and more sweeping the entire region's wealth. Beep, beep, beep. Just as Qi Yuan hummed softly, preparing to cut another watermelon, glaring crimson warning lights flashed across the control console. The yacht's radar wailed far louder than it had during their encounter with the giant lizard. Warning. High-armed vessels detected closing in. Hostile lock acquired. Count. 3. Displacement exceeding 100 tons each. Qi Yuan's gaze turned sharp. He peered out the windows. 3 20-meter vessels clad in rusted thick steel plating, flying tattered white skull flags, cut through the waves billowing black smoke. They surrounded his 10-meter yacht in a triangular formation amid the sea mist. Standing on the bow of the lead flagship was a towering 2-meter man covered in dark body hair, hefting an enormous ghost-head broadsword. He bared a savage grin toward the yacht. 3 20-meter iron-clad steamships churned the sea, belching plumes of coal smoke. Like giant sea predators, they boxed in Qi Yuan's smaller yacht within the fog. Their leader was Lu Dedeo, the most infamous tyrant of the shallow seas, feared by every survivor. Before crossing into this ocean world, Lu Dedeo had been a violent butcher. After arriving, he robbed countless lone survivors on rafts, seizing their resources to build a crew of over 100 armed thugs. He constructed these 3 iron-reinforced ships from piles of scrap steel and hardwood. Each vessel's bow was fitted with a thick iron-sheathed wooden ram, imposing and threatening. Beside the 20-meter warships, Qi Yuan's 10-meter armored yacht looked comparatively small. On a distant makeshift raft, Lin Wanner and Zhang Meng, weakened and sun-scorched, erupted in wild joy the second they spotted the skull flags. Ha! It's Butcher Lu Dedeo. Lin Wanner laughed frantically, splitting the dried cracks on her lips and drawing blood. Qi Yuan, your end has come. Lu Dedeo kills without mercy. Your weapons cannot pierce his iron hulls. You will sink without a trace. Zhang Meng shouted hoarsely despite his exhaustion. Captain, that man's ship holds silver treasure chests and chilled watermelon. Ram and sink him. Lu Dedeo planted himself at the front of his flagship, Butcher. He roared through a crude bronze megaphone, his voice echoing far over the waves. You boy on the yacht, cut your engines and hand over vessel control. I've set my sights on your clean black metal boat and your 2 companions beside you. Surrender your supplies and your crew peacefully, and I might spare your life to work as an oarsman. Don't rely on that gun on your upper deck. My iron plating can shrug off your bullets. If you open fire, I'll ram your craft to splinters. Behind him, over 100 pirates brandished axes and rusted firearms, shouting viciously and hammering against the metal hulls to create a deafening racket, maximizing intimidation. Faced with 3 larger ironclad ships closing in, Yi Ling'er paled, nervously clutching the hem of Su Qinghan's coat. Though Su Qinghan maintained a calm expression, unease flickered in her clear eyes. After all, the enemy's forces were overwhelmingly massive. If a collision took place, no matter how tough the yacht's armor was, it would likely fail to withstand a head-on strike from 300-ton vessels. Her slender hands rested on the trigger of the heavy armor-piercing crossbow. Meanwhile, Qi Yuan sat in the luxurious leather command chair within the main control cabin. He unhurriedly drained the last sip of icy Coca-Cola from the can. Crack! His steel-like fingers clenched, crumpling the aluminum can into a ball of scrap metal in an instant. He tossed it precisely into the waste bin. He slowly rose to his feet and walked over to the high-strength, bulletproof tempered glass window. He gazed down at the 3 rusted yet imposing iron sailing ships. A disdainful, wild, icy smirk slowly spread across Qi Yuan's lips. You dare challenge me to a ramming contest? With those rusty scraps of metal you call ships? Do you even qualify? The moment Su Qinghan heard Qi Yuan's domineering words, all the worry in her clear, icy eyes vanished. In its place arose deep reverence and fervent admiration. She knew this man was about to unleash another lopsided, ruthless show of overwhelming power. Qi Yuan strode back to the control console. Ignoring the electronic switch that activated the Gatling guns, he gripped the power throttle and shoved it all the way to maximum. 200% overload engaged. Shenghua set sail. Cold light flickered in Qi Yuan's eyes as he slammed his palm against the overclock activation button on the main control panel. Boom. Beneath the waves, for high-energy water jet thrusters erupted with a thunderous roar, akin to the furious bellow of an ancient dragon. The still black seawater was torn apart by high-temperature steam and blue electric sparks generated by fusion power in the blink of an eye. Behind the vessel, a towering white wall of spray stretched hundreds of meters long. The 10-meter armored yacht surged to its top speed in a fraction of a second. Like a ferocious black rhinoceros charging across frozen plains, it cut through the waves with unstoppable kinetic force, heading straight for Lou Dedeo's 20-meter ironclad flagship. It crashed forward without hesitation. Two vessels of vastly unequal size charged head-on across the sea in a mad, unyielding collision. "Captain, that man is really accelerating to ram us." A lookout pirate aboard the flagship Butcher's blade paled, pointing at the black streak dragging a hundreds-meter vacuum trail across the water, and shouted tremblingly. Lou Dedeo watched the small black yacht advancing without retreat, its speed pushing toward the edge of sonic velocity. After a brief moment of shock, a cruel, mocking grin twisted his face. "Suicidal fool. A tiny iron boat dares clash head-on with my 100-ton ironclad flagship?" Lou Dedeo bared his teeth, holding high his ghost-head broadsword, and roared at his crew. "Stoke the steam boilers to maximum pressure. Meet it head-on and crush it. Today I'll teach him the cost of overestimating himself. Ram it to pieces." Hundreds of pirates brandished machetes and howled hysterically, cranking the boiler pressure valves to their absolute limits. The distance between the two ships shrank to less than 20 meters. Waves raged wildly. Black coal smoke collided violently with the blue fusion exhaust fumes hanging in the air. On the large wooden raft, Zhang Meng watched the scene, his face flushed with morbid excitement. He clutched his stomach and laughed loudly. "They're going to collide. Really? Chi Yuan, you idiot. That tiny craft of yours is nothing but a toy against Lou Dedeo's massive ship." The other survivors nearby closed their eyes, unable to bear witnessing the inevitable, devastating wreck. Yet the next instant, boom! A deafening crash that reverberated across the entire shallow sea erupted the moment contact was made. Towering waves surged 10 meters upward at the point of impact, scattering down as torrents of white spray. The sight Lou Dedeo anticipated, his foe's vessel shattered into fragments, never came to pass. Instead, his pride and joy, the heavy ironclad ship reinforced with thick, rough metal plating, crumpled the instant it touched the transformed rainproof armor bow of Chi Yuan's yacht. It was just like an aluminum can crushed ruthlessly beneath a truck. A shrill screech of tortured metal echoed across the water. The thick iron-wrapped wooden ram's pike at the bow could not endure even a single second. The titanium nano-armor drove forward relentlessly, pulverizing it into splinters. Then came the hideous sound of steel being torn apart. The four thrusters at the stern of the Shunghua continued pushing at 200% overload, churning with godlike thrust. The yacht's blade-like bow surged forward with unstoppable kinetic momentum, not slowing in the slightest. It sliced straight through the core of the 20-meter medium sailing ship, split cleanly in two. Crack! Crash! Beneath the horrified, stunned gazes of countless onlookers, the warship feared across the entire zone fell apart instantly. Wood planks and sheets of iron flew everywhere. Dozens of pirates were thrown high into the air like scraps of paper amid screams, before plunging into the frigid seawater. The moment the flagship fractured, pirate chieftain Lou Dedeo lost his balance and tumbled screaming off the deck into the ocean. "Help, Glug!" He barely lifted his head above the waves to call out. Beneath him, the yacht's titanium high-speed dual propellers spun at full power, wielding terrifying crushing force. They swept past right underneath where he struggled. Squelch! A massive crimson wave mixed with splintered bones spread rapidly across the sea, staining the blue waters a glaring scarlet. Silence descended, thick enough to hear a leaf fall. On the two remaining pirate ships, the pirates who had been ready to close in with ferocious expressions froze solid. After watching their leader fall in a single blow and vanish into a pool of blood, terror seized their souls. Thud! Thud! Their legs buckled. They threw down their blades and spears without hesitation, dropping to their knees on the deck, faces ashen as they kowtowed and begged for mercy. Chi Yuan leisurely pulled the brake. The yacht glided another dozen meters across the water before coming to a steady halt. "Clean up the battlefield." Chi Yuan exhaled after sipping his cola on the sofa. A high polymer salvage net arced out into the blood-stained bay. Ding! Salvage complete. Obtained. Titanium alloy armor blueprint ×1, silver or ×20 units. Large quantities of basic blueprints and high-tier materials poured onto the yacht's fore and aft decks like rain. With this, Lou Dedeo, the most powerful warlord of the shallow sea, was completely eliminated by Chi Yuan, erased both physically and from the survival zone's power structure. Before Su Qinghan and Yi Linger inside the control cabin could cheer, an abrupt change swept over everything. The pale, glaring sun hanging high in the sky lost all color in an instant. The entire world was shrouded in suffocating crimson. Tick, tick. The bright, pale sun faded completely, as if soaked in dark ink. The sky did not turn black. Instead, it was swallowed by heavy, oppressive, deathly scarlet. Reflected by the crimson glow, the black ocean slowly transformed into viscous, stifling dark red. A cold, unnerving rot mingled with the salt tang carried on the sea wind. While billions of survivors across the zone stared at the eerie sky, lost in panic and confusion, a resonant mechanical boom echoed directly inside every person's mind, like an ancient giant bell crashing down from the void. Don't. Red alert. Red alert. Ultimate disaster event within the shallow sea survival zone. Blood Moon Sea Monster Tide will descend officially in 3 days. Upon its arrival, a blood-red full moon will rise in the sky. Fog density will increase tenfold. All sea beasts and sea monsters will double in strength, entering a permanent, mindless rampage. They will automatically and ferociously attack every survivor and vessel within sight. All survivors must utilize these final 3 days to reinforce your vessels. Prepare to face this trial of survival. The cold, mechanical system warning repeated on a loop inside everyone's heads. The regional chat channel, which had regained a flicker of life after the extreme cold receded and island ruins appeared, descended into unprecedented, earth-shaking despair and terror. Blood Moon Sea Monster Tide? Sea monsters doubling in strength. Is the system joking? I can't even fight an ordinary first-order sea serpent. How am I supposed to hold off strengthened beasts? My raft only has 20% durability left. Powerful lords, please let me board your ship. I'll do anything. Ugh, the end comes in 3 days. I don't want to play anymore. I want to go home. Looking for allies. I'll hand over all my silver-grade blueprints to join a heavy sailing ship faction. I only beg for a chance to survive the Blood Moon. Despair, madness, fear. Countless survivors humbled themselves in the channel, trading their classified materials and rare blueprints at rock-bottom prices. Desperate to secure a spot aboard powerful vessels and cling to the strong to stay alive. On the large wooden raft, Lin Wanner, Zhang Meng, and the others slumped into the water, their faces drained of color. Zhang Meng, the sea beasts will riot. We're going to die? We'll freeze or be torn apart by monsters. Lin Wanner clutched her hair frantically, teetering on the edge of mental collapse. Zhang Meng clenched his fists, shaking violently like a broken bellows under overwhelming dread. Upon the foredeck of the armored yacht, Qi Yuan stood along the high armor railing. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger walked over with traces of unease on their faces. Staring at the scarlet countdown flashing across the radar screen, Yi Linger tugged nervously at her twin ponytails. Qi Shun, when the blood moon rises, the sea creatures will flip this yacht over. But when Su Qinghan and Yi Linger turned to look at Qi Yuan, both froze in place. Within his deep dark eyes, there was no trace of panic or fear facing the coming catastrophe. Instead, blazing, extreme excitement and greed ignited in his gaze. Blood Moon Sea Monster Tide. Strength doubled. Qi Yuan licked his dry lips, letting out a low, thrilled laugh. To everyone else, this was an unstoppable disaster that brought nothing but destruction and death. But to Qi Yuan, a special player equipped with the 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling turret, unlimited stamina, and perfectly insulated armored hull, this was nothing short of a system-sponsored loot bonanza. Endless high-tier mutation points, rare sea beast spines, and dense nano-armor plates lined up waiting for him to harvest. If he survived this wave, his power would reach unrivaled supremacy. Qi Yuan pulled open the system vessel panel inside the control cabin and selected the upgrade menu. Yacht Advancement. Fully enclosed armored speedboat rare unique mutated variant to upgrade into a fully sealed craft equipped with anti-air radar, allowing him to rest safely amid the tenfold denser fog during the blood moon. However, he still lacked several rare materials to complete the upgrade. Nuclear alloy plate times 20, high-strength titanium particle core times 5. Searching for these materials slowly inside island ruins would waste too much time. A cunning, evil smile tugged at Qi Yuan's mouth. Everyone is scrambling to sell their possessions in exchange for food and water to stay alive. Then I suppose I might as well play the savior of this world. Qi Yuan made up his mind. Within these final 3 days, he would use the chilled watermelons, rice and beef stored in his refrigeration hold to buy up all the precious blueprints and high-grade materials every survivor hoarded. He would drain every last resource they possessed. Qi Yuan leaned back against the dual-temperature leather sofa, his expression calm. On the verge of this great ocean catastrophe, he intended to act as the shrewdest businessman alive. He opened the trade hall and listed surplus fresh water, fish caught by salvage nets, and extra supplies recovered from Zhao Tianyu's vessel on the trading shelf. Alongside them, he posted a harsh, unyielding region-wide top broadcast announcement. Purified high-energy water, 500 milliliters times 500 bottles. Rich beef, can food times 100 units. Primary alloy iron sword times 5. Dried first-order wolf meat times 200 units. Only accepting trades for first or second-order titanium plates, high-energy cores, rare beast bones, and refined iron. No haggling. No verbal reservations or moral blackmail will be entertained. Death draws near. If you wish to survive, offer your most valuable goods. The moment this ruthless trade notice went live, every survivor across the shallow sea zone burned with urgency. In these desperate final days before the blood moon, Qi Yuan's steady supply of fresh water, beef, and canned goods became the only lifeline for countless people. Ding 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 ding. Private message notifications flooded his wristband, pushing its processing capacity to the limit. Powerful faction leaders who had hidden rare blueprints and materials deep at sea finally cast aside their pride. To give their rafts a better chance against the monster tide, they surrendered precious treasures they had risked their lives to salvage from deep-sea wrecks, offering them away cheaply. Qi Shun, I'll trade 2 second-order titanium plates for 2 beef cans. Please, I'm dying of thirst. Qi Shun, look here. Blueprint for primary turbine engine core rare grade. I only need 5 liters of water. Without water, I will perish from heatstroke soon. Rare high-dimensional materials poured in like rain, rapidly filling the yacht's storage holds to capacity. Piles of solid hardwood stacked high, and dense iron ore glinted coldly in the corners. Su Qinghan tallied the incoming supplies with deft fingers, amazed by the influx. Qi Yuan reaped enormous profits, and his confidence surged to new heights. Yet it was still not enough. He possessed ample blueprints and base materials. Upgrading to the enclosed speedboat required a staggering volume of mutation points to power material fusion and reconstruction. Shenghua, set sail. Head for the densest fog zone. Qi Yuan pushed the steering lever forward. The black yacht let out a thunderous horn, slicing across the waves like a black blade and speeding straight into the ink-black fog boundary on the horizon. To ordinary survivors, this was a death trap that eroded sanity and induced mutation. But blessed with fog immunity and fog sovereign skills, Qi Yuan saw it as an endless source of mutation points accumulating by the second. Absorbing high-concentration fog. Mutation points +1, +3, +5 inch. Moreover, as the catastrophe loomed, countless isolated first and second-order sea beasts slipped into early frenzy. Sensing the life signatures aboard the yacht, they leaped upward from the depths, intent on tearing the vessel apart. With a cold expression, Qi Yuan flipped the manual trigger for the Gatling gun turret. Buzz, da-da-da-da-da-da. Golden streams of gunfire tore through the fog. Large-caliber armor-piercing rounds swept wildly amid the gale, tearing apart every approaching first-order sea beast in sprays of flesh and bone. A die exhaled hellfire from the deck, incinerating wounded sea monsters so the salvage net could collect their materials. Ding. First-order sea beast eliminated. Mutation points +50. Ding. Enraged second-order octopus eliminated. Obtained. Second-order energy core ×1. Mutation points +150. For 3 days, the slaughter continued without pause. Qi Yuan's mutation point balance. Under the relentless fire of the Vulcan Gatling cannon, he charged through checkpoint after checkpoint, finally breaking the formidable 5-digit threshold, surpassing 10,000 points. Mission accomplished. Countdown to the Blood Moon Sea Beast tide commencing. Only 3 hours remained. Within the dull, lifeless blood-red clouds overhead, a crimson crescent moon faintly materialized, resembling an evil eye opening deep within the firmament. Qi Yuan returned to the comfortable, well-furnished control cabin. He drew a deep breath, ready to pour all alloy plates, energy cores, and over 10,000 mutation points into a single massive upgrade. He planned to transform this double-layer armored yacht into a fully enclosed heavy assault speedboat. But then, beep beep beep, warning. Alert. A tiny dark red blip, marking an outright hostile entity, abruptly popped up on one corner of the radar screen. Footage from the underwater explosion-proof cameras revealed something on the starboard stern amid the churning black and crimson waves. Alongside a heavy steel anchor chain, a strange half-human, half-monstrous silhouette clung to the metal cable. Against the pitch-black night, it climbed soundlessly upward along the chain toward the yacht's frigid deck. Drip, drip, on the holographic projection feed transmitted by the underwater cameras, the eerie silhouette creeping along the cold, heavy anchor chain was instantly magnified and reconstructed by the system's facial analysis software. The moment every detail came into sharp focus, the once warm air inside the command cabin plummeted to freezing point. It was a horrifying aberrant, barely retaining any trace of human features. Its entire body was covered in jet-black scale-like carapaces that shimmered with an odd metallic sheen beneath the moonlight. Its 10 fingers had fully degenerated and reshaped into half-meter-long razor-sharp bone claws akin to black crystal blades. As they scraped across the anchor chain, trails of corrosive black slime were left behind. What sent chills racing down Su Qinghan and Yi Linger's spines was its severely warped, degraded face. Its left side had morphed into one enormous, emotionless scarlet compound eye that blinked frantically. Yet on its withered, aged right half, one could still faintly recognize Lin Wanner, the class monitor who had always presented herself as pure and untainted back at school. Good heavens, Monitor Lin, how did she turn into something like this? Yi Linger gasped in terror, clutching Dai tightly to her chest, her large eyes filled with shock and dread. Su Qinghan's face paled as she stared at the monster steadily climbing onto the yacht's second deck. A cold, resolute glint flashed across her gaze. She had truly transformed into a monster and tracked them all the way here. As told in Chapter 25, after the extreme cold night, Lin Wanner had been swallowed by an ice fissure and plunged into the deepest reaches of the Abyss Ice Sea. But she had not died. In the final second of her fall, she crushed the Abyss Curse amulet carved with ancient evil god reliefs, which she had stolen from Zhao Tianyu's corpse. Malevolent bony ritual viruses and roiling black mist engulfed and remade her in an instant, completely warping her flesh into a mist aberrant consumed by nothing but raging hatred for Qi Yuan. Fueled by that overwhelming venom, she traversed the frozen sea. Guided by her sense of Qi Yuan's scent, she pursued the armored yacht non-stop across the ice plains for 3 days and 3 nights. Her goal was straightforward. Before the Blood Moon sea beasts rose in full force, she would destroy the yacht's core fusion engine and drag Qi Yuan and Su Qinghan down to perish alongside her in the frigid, silent abyssal depths. Die, Qi Yuan, die. A hoarse snarl, like 2 rusted metal plates grinding against each other, spilled haltingly from her fong-filled maw. The aberrant crawled slowly across the titanium alloy deck. Where its bone claws scraped the slip-resistant plating, scorched, corroded marks were left in its wake. Its scarlet 6-lensed compound eye locked firmly onto the control cabin window, glowing with soft LED lighting. She saw Qi Yuan seated on the plush leather sofa, and Su Qinghan standing nearby. Unbridled rage and jealousy ignited within her, and her compound eye blazed with ferocious crimson light. Die! The aberrant let out a piercing roar, pushed off the deck with its legs, and hurled its massive body forward like a black bolt of lightning. Its razor-edged bone claws surged forth with overwhelming momentum, crashing straight toward the control cabin's weakest tempered blast-proof window. Crack! Determination flickered across Su Qinghan's clear eyes. She swiftly drew the pistol obtained from a reward pack, chambered a round, and aimed steadily out the window, ready to pull the trigger. But at that very moment, Qi Yuan smiled faintly. He stretched out a warm, broad palm and gently rested it over Su Qinghan's hand, steadily lowering her trembling pistol. First officer, don't get our new window dirty. Cleaning it will be a hassle. Seated in the pilot's chair, Qi Yuan watched the vengeful Lin Wanner slamming against the outer hull, and a cold, ruthless smirk tugged slowly at his lips. With one finger, he tapped the glowing red switch labeled High Voltage Electromagnetic Riot Defense Mode within the defense systems panel on the holographic main screen. The instant the switch activated, boom! The yacht's tidal power generator unleashed a deafening low-frequency electromagnetic roar. High-energy power cables surged to full charge in an instant. Across the yacht's thick nano-titanium alloy hull, countless thick, writhing azure high-voltage electric arcs ignited within 1/100th of a second, flickering wildly over the deck. The tidal generator emitted a thunderous rumble. Power lines overloaded, flooding the nano-titanium hull with surging electricity in the blink of an eye. Crackle shhh. The air ionized instantly, filling the cabin with the sharp tang of ozone. Arm-thick, blinding cobalt-blue serpents of electricity danced and leaped along the yacht's armor plating. The high-voltage electromagnetic defense net activated to full power. Lynn Warner's half-meter black crystal bone claws had just latched onto the cabin exterior as she prepared to cripple the engine, when countless electric serpents snaked up her limbs and spread rapidly across her whole body. 12,000 volts of high-tension current turned her into a living conductor in an instant. Aya! A shrill, inhuman scream, like that of a demon from the deepest abyss, tore through the night sea. Several lone minor sea beasts in the bay near the large wooden raft dove frantically to the seabed, trembling with fright at the cry. Against the system-adaptive high-energy power grid, the tough carapace grown by Lynn Warner's mutated flesh was as fragile as thin paper. Crackle, pop, a constant stream of sharp detonations echoed out. High-voltage arcs pierced her black scales, shattering them into tiny black particles that vaporized mid-air. The aberrant flesh fused with black mist and curse energy inside her carbonized and vaporized beneath the extreme heat of the electric arcs, sending plumes of acrid black smoke curling upward. Chi Yuan, HH. Lynn Warner rolled and screeched across the deck, trying to break through the energy net with her fractured claws. Yet the electric arcs acted like invisible chains, pinning her in place no matter how violently she struggled. Her cries gradually weakened, until silence swallowed them entirely. In merely 10 seconds, the electric light faded, and the yacht returned to cold stillness. On the deck, the former class monitor consumed by vengeful rage, who had sought to drag Chi Yuan and Su Qinghan down to destruction beneath the blood moon, had been reduced to a pile of charred black cinders lying motionless on the plating. A night breeze swept across the sea. Swathes of ash scattered into black dust, drifting beneath the moonlight until she vanished completely on a physical level. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger both heaved a long sigh of relief. Placing hands over their chests, the two women felt profound satisfaction at the decisive elimination of their foe. Every loose end tied, clean and final. No chances left for the enemy to stage a counterattack. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eliminating the mist aberrant Lynn Warner. Reward: mutation points plus 500. Reward: high-grade rare material. Perfect grade blood energy core times 1. At the sound of the system notification echoing inside his mind, blazing excitement lit up Chi Yuan's eyes. A perfect grade blood energy core. This was an extremely rare top-tier material found barely once in 10,000 encounters. It could be used to enchant the Gatling turret or serve as core power hardware for future destroyer upgrades, an invaluable treasure by any measure. First Officer, Linger, wait inside the cabin. Chi Yuan pulled the cabin door wide and strode out onto the deck, still warm from residual energy, braving the frigid night sea wind. He knelt beside the charred ash and picked up a translucent ruby crystal roughly half the size of a fist. A warm crimson glow emanated from within the crystal, where a miniature blood-colored vortex swirled continuously. The blood energy core felt heavy in his grasp, thrumming with an unsettling surge of power. Before Chi Yuan could examine its attributes further, crack! From deep within the blood-red clouds overhead, an earth-shattering crash erupted out of nowhere, as if the dome of heaven itself had fractured like glass. Roiling black mist was torn open by overwhelming force, revealing an impossibly massive scarlet full moon that seemed to drip fresh blood. Lifted by black mist rising from the ocean horizon, it surged upward from the abyssal depths. Crimson moonlight poured forth like thick liquid. The seawater instantly turned murky crimson black and began to churn violently. The countdown hit 0. The blood moon rose. The sea beast tide had arrived. Crack! The dense blood-hued clouds overhead split open without warning, releasing a deafening crash akin to a mirror shattering. Vast curtains of black fog were ripped apart by titanic force, clearing a massive rift in the sky. An impossibly enormous scarlet moon, appearing as though soaked in flowing blood, rose from the abyss. It was hoisted upward by black mist surging from the ocean horizon. Crimson moonlight spilled downward like viscous fluid. In an instant, the seawater seemed to boil. Under the scarlet radiance, the dark ocean transformed into a lifeless crimson-black expanse. Countless fist-sized scarlet bubbles rose endlessly from the ocean depths. They popped to release a repulsive stench mixing sulfur and decaying sea beast flesh. Roar! Howl! Scores of spine-chilling cries erupted all across the surrounding waters. The sea surface split open. Thousands upon thousands of scarlet eyes lit up the darkness. They were like countless flickering red embers spread across the night. Giant biochemical pythons dozens of meters long, deep-sea cod covered in rigid bone spurs, mechanical octopuses lined with massive serrated suction cups. They surged forth like creatures escaping captivity, packed tightly across every stretch of visible sea. The endless tide of monsters stretching to the horizon was enough to make anyone's scalp prickle and palms sweat. The optical band on Qi Yuan's wrist flickered uncontrollably, its screen shaking violently under the flood of incoming notifications, emitting strange static noise. The regional chat channel had turned into a gruesome live broadcast of death. Ordinary survivors with nothing more than rickety planks or makeshift sailboats stood no chance against this wave of sea beasts. They were as fragile as paper toys. Sea beasts, everywhere with red eyes. They're tearing apart my raft. Augh. My leg. I've lost my leg. Someone help me. I don't want to die out here at sea. Region announcement. Sea beast combat strength has doubled. Ordinary iron blades cannot pierce their hides. Defenses are collapsing. I don't want to die. Please, I don't want to die. Hundreds of survivors failed to finish typing their desperate pleas before their usernames grayed out forever. Splintered planks and mangled human remains floated atop waves tinted eerie red by the blood moon. Not far away, the battered large wooden raft carrying Lin Wanner's remaining followers failed to withstand a single blow from several 10-meter tier 1 deep sea mutant pythons. It shattered instantly into splinters. Zhang Ming's mangled corpse was torn apart and devoured by sea beasts before he could utter a single scream. This was nothing short of one-sided slaughter. The cataclysmic event laid bare the ocean's cruelest, bloodiest truth for all surviving humanity to witness. Thud, thud. Dozens of mutant bone fish and sea beasts were drawn to the faint glow emanating from the armored yacht. They slammed relentlessly against its nano-titanium outer plating. Yet the yacht's heavy armor absorbed every physical impact, producing nothing more than dull reverberations. Far out on the black horizon, however, a towering wall of water over 10 meters high, packed with shield-bearing mechanical beasts and biochemical giant lizards, charged relentlessly toward the yacht's coordinates. Inside that massive black wave glinted countless cold-boned spurs and jagged fangs. Faced with this apocalyptic, overwhelming force, Qi Yuan's 10-meter armored yacht was no larger than a single leaf adrift within a tsunami. The horde intended to swallow this isolated island on the sea hole, erasing every living soul aboard. Watching the towering wall of water filled with sea monsters surge toward them on the holographic display, Yi Linger drained of all color in the control cabin. She clutched tightly onto Su Qinghan's shirt. Fear flickered across Su Qinghan's clear eyes, and her frame trembled involuntarily. Against this tidal wave of monsters wielding godlike destructive power, human weapons appeared pathetically inadequate. The two women clung tightly to each other, waiting for annihilation to arrive. But Qi Yuan remained utterly calm, not so much as flinching. In his left hand, he gripped the newly obtained perfect grade blood energy core, pulsing with ominous scarlet radiance. Illuminated by flashes of crimson lightning, he drew a deep breath and advanced steadily toward the yacht's luminous holographic main console. What did he intend to do? Bang, bang, bang. The 10-meter wall of seawater packed with sea beasts crashed down with crushing momentum. Countless Tier 1 and Tier 2 deep sea-bone fish and mutant sea snakes snapped their fong-filled jaws, gnawing and hammering at the yacht's armor plating. But the nanoshock-resistant titanium alloy armor forged by system transformation possessed defensive capabilities far beyond ordinary sea creatures of this world. The yacht's gravity stabilization and shock absorption systems surged to maximum power instantly. The cabin swayed only faintly. The half-glass of cola sitting on the living room table did not stir so much as a single ripple. Every collision left nothing more than faint, fleeting pale marks on the heavy nano-titanium plating. It was incapable of damaging the yacht in the slightest. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger opened their eyes slowly, still dazed. Staring at the intact, warm and comfortable control cabin before them, boundless amazement and joy flickered in the two women's beautiful eyes. They were safe. Against such a horrifying cataclysmic impact, they had escaped completely unharmed. Outside, it was a living hell. Blood splashed everywhere, screams were swallowed by sea monsters, and countless players vanished into thin air amid the ocean waves. Inside the yacht, however, everything was tranquil. High-grade LED spotlights cast soft, warm golden light. The constant temperature system steadily circulated warm air held at 25 degrees Celsius. Qi Yuan did not even bother stepping out onto the deck. Humming a casual tune, he casually retrieved the high-precision dual-flavor hot pot basin he had traded for watermelons to other survivors earlier that day from his system storage. Afterwards, he pulled out large packs of beef tallow hot pot base, wild mushroom bone broth, a crate of canned food, and the remaining premium marbled Wagyu beef. Qinghan, Linger, let's get the hot pot going. Qi Yuan plugged in the induction cooker in front of the sofa and activated its high-energy power supply. Gurgle, gurgle. In less than 5 minutes, both the spicy and clear broth sides of the dual-flavor pot came to a rolling boil. A rich, overwhelming aroma blending beef tallow, chili peppers, and fresh mushrooms quickly filled the enclosed, cozy lounge. Yi Linger, the food lover, sat cross-legged on the carpet holding a small bowl, her large eyes fixed intently on the boiling red broth, and she could barely contain her anticipation. Qi Yuan picked up a slice of well-marbled premium Wagyu beef with distinct marbling patterns. He dipped it for exactly 3 seconds in the simmering, savory spicy broth. The edges of the beef curled slightly, turning light brown, coated in glistening, steaming chili oil. With a gentle expression, Qi Yuan held the fragrant slice of beef towards Su Qinghan beside him. She still looked shaken by what they had endured. There's nothing to fear. Qi Yuan glanced at the still uneasy school beauty and smiled to calm her nerves. The yacht is fitted with heavy-duty soundproof blast-resistant glass. None of the noise from outside can get in. Have a bite of the beef, then look out the window. Think of us sitting in a cinema, watching a free, utterly realistic 3D disaster movie set in the end times. Su Qinghan's clear eyes widened, and her cheeks flushed bright red in an instant. She did not refuse. Instead, she parted her lips obediently and took the steaming, aromatic beef slice into her mouth. Rich, tender fat melted across her tongue the moment she bit down. The flavor, so wonderful she nearly sank back into the sofa in bliss. She turned to gaze out the bulletproof window. A massive mutated sea serpent was slamming itself against the glass in a desperate attempt to break through. It only snapped off all its fangs. It writhed in agony in the seawater, a ridiculous sight to behold. Uffed. Su Qinghan could not hold back a soft laugh, covering her mouth with her palm. All the terror brought by the blood moon cataclysm vanished in an instant, chased away by the delicious beef and the absurd spectacle of the monster outside. Staying with Qi Yuan was hardly surviving. It was like staying at a resort. If the other survivors in the regional channel knew he was inside enjoying hot pot, they would undoubtedly be consumed with rage. The three finished their hot pot meal, feeling warm all over, lightly perspiring. Qi Yuan wiped his mouth. He took the scarlet blood energy core, within which swirled a perfect vortex. He inserted it into the enchantment energy slot of the Gatling turret. Dinner's over. Qi Yuan slowly rose from the sofa, slipped on his matte black nano-stab-resistant coat, and draped it over his shoulders with a commanding air. It's time to head outside and harvest my prey. He pushed open the control cabin door and stepped onto the front of the second-level deck, facing the frigid night wind beneath the blood moon. Amid the roars of countless sea beasts, he pressed the switch to fully activate the Gatling weapons system with an impassive expression. A blood-red crescent hung slanted across the sky, painting the boundless dark ocean into a vast battlefield of carnage. The sea wind carried a thick, metallic tang of fresh blood. Qi Yuan stood behind the steel railings on the second-level deck. Beneath the waves, dense swarms of Tier 1 bone fish and mutated sea serpents continued to batter the yacht's titanium nano-armored hull with claws and fangs. They were driven by relentless rage as if they could not feel pain. Thud, thud, boom. Continuous dull impacts echoed without pause. Qi Yuan's face remained impassive. He strode toward the 2-meter-tall black Vulcan Gatling turret. Stretching out a finger, he flipped open the concealed electronic energy compartment on its side. Hum. The energy slot slid outward, glowing with faint blue digital light. Qi Yuan did not hesitate for a single moment. Clutching the perfect gray blood energy core he had obtained from defeating Lin Wanner, a translucent gemstone red object holding a tiny swirling vortex of blood inside. He firmly pushed it into the slot. Click. The cold mechanical latches locked perfectly into place the instant they made contact with the core. Hum. In that moment, the massive matte black steel frame of the 2-meter Gatling turret became wrapped in dazzling scarlet energy rings that flowed like rushing blood. The turret's outer armor panels split open like flower petals, and thick internal energy conduits lit up with eerie crimson light. 2 streamlined energy storage rails glowing red automatically extended from either side of the barrel assembly. The system notification blared inside his mind right on cue. Ding! High-grade special blood energy core loaded. Weapon enchantment initiating. Ding! Congratulations, host. Your 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling turret has gained a limited-time cataclysm enhancement modifier. Blood energy, high explosive. Blood energy high explosive. All fired bullets gain 100 absolute physical penetration. Additionally, within 0.01 seconds upon hitting a target, a 2-meter radius secondary detonation of blood mist will trigger, dealing explosive damage. Qi Yuan read the brutal weapon stats displayed on his wristband. A cruel, wild grin, akin to a tyrant risen from hell, slowly spread across his face. Then, let the carnage begin. Qi Yuan slammed the firing switch on the main control panel. The dormant 6-barreled steel beast awakened once more. Its barrels spun at such extreme speed they left nothing but afterimages in the air. Powerful winds generated by the whirling barrels swept all residual mist off the deck in an instant. Rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat. The noise no longer sounded like ordinary gunfire. The rate of fire had crossed physical limits, and bullets merged into a blazing crimson trail of destruction stretching several meters long. Tongues of fire lit up the sea for hundreds of meters in every direction. Guided by the auto-targeting radar, the deadly crimson beam swept mercilessly across the ocean surface. Boom, 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 boom. The large-caliber bullets struck the enraged sea beasts. Physical penetration activated instantly, tearing straight through their tough bone carapaces. Moments later, the high explosive effect detonated inside their bodies. Continuous muffled explosions rippled beneath the waves. Tier 1 sea beasts several meters long could not even let out a cry before they were blown into clouds of flesh and blood amid bursts of flame and white light the second the beam reached them. The heavy rounds carved a temporary empty channel beneath the seawater. Limbs, bony spines, and torn flesh rained down into the ocean. The slaughter raged on relentlessly. What stirred Qi Yuan's pulse even more was that, amplified by the Blood Moon's magnetic field, his passive skill ruler of black mist unleashed its unmatched dominance during the cataclysm. Thick black mist and inorganic energy residue released by the slain sea beasts transformed into visible streams of black light. They surged greedily into the yacht's main power cables and into Qi Yuan himself. Inside his head, system alerts chimed non-stop, like an endless string of firecrackers. Absorb black mist from Tier 1 sea beast. Mutation points plus 100. Mutation points plus 100. Mutation points plus 100. Ding. Mutation point balance skyrocketing. The numbers displayed on his system panel climbed at a breathtaking pace, like a faulty counter. 7,000. 8,000. 10,000. The sensation of watching his resources multiply exponentially while unleashing overwhelming firepower to cut down foes brought unparalleled exhilaration. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger stood by the window. They watched the surging scarlet light and scattered monster flesh outside, gazing at the figures standing in the darkness, unleashing streams of fire. Fanatic admiration shone clearly in both women's eyes. 2 hours of relentless elimination passed. A thick layer of dead sea creatures covered the ocean's surface, and the seawater had turned pitch black. On the deck, the continuous automated salvage net piled up numerous resource chests shimmering pale green and pure white light. His mutation point balance surged past the staggering mark of 15,000. Qi Yuan drew a deep breath, still eager for more. He prepared to halt the overheated barrels of the Gatling and return to the cabin to rest. But then, boom. Without warning, a deafening rumble, like an underwater volcanic eruption, echoed from deep within the churning blood-red sea. The ocean's surface shook violently. A pungent biochemical machine oil scent rose from the depths. To the right side of the yacht, masses of seawater split apart violently. It sent a wall of water surging 10 meters high. A Tier 2 sea beast leader emerged from the waves. Its size dwarfed the 10-meter yacht. Its body was covered in ancient Tianwei Empire biochemical nano-armor. This colossal mechanical octopus monster rose above the waves. 6 eyes glowed with piercing, icy blue light. More than a dozen massive tentacles stretching dozens of meters long rose amid the surf, each tipped with high-speed, rotating biochemical chainsaws. Crash! It charged forward in a rage, breaking the ocean's surface. Rumble! One massive steel tentacle crackling, with vivid green ionization, streaked through the air. Rows of giant high-molecular carbon fiber biochemical chainsaws on its tip spun at 10,000 rotations per minute. It emitted an ear-splitting roar. Bang! The thick mechanical tentacle crashed heavily against the reinforced yacht side armor. The tremendous force sent shockwaves rippling through the hull. The yacht's internal damping systems hit their safety threshold instantly, and the vessel rocked violently. A strained creak echoed from the titanium bulletproof plating at the bow, as if the hull might buckle under the pressure. Inside the cabin, Yilinger lost her footing and tumbled onto the sofa with a startled cry. Su Qinghan's face paled. She gripped the control console tightly, staring anxiously at the massive creature displayed on the screens. This was a Tier 2 leader-class monster. Its size and defensive capabilities were more than 10 times greater than ordinary Tier 1 sea beasts. Rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat. The 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling cannon on the second deck continued to spin wildly, spewing streams of deadly scarlet high-explosive fire. Yet the large-caliber rounds that could turn Tier 1 sea beasts to ashes merely sparked and skidded off the thick layer of bioluminescent mucus shielding the octopus's armor. Sizzle. Sizzle. The armor was only marked by shallow charred scars. It failed to inflict meaningful damage. The Tier 2 leader's defenses were nearly impenetrable. Roar. The octopus let out a low-frequency roar that shook the sky. Its grinding maw lined with sharp circular teeth churned violently. Dozens of thick chainsaw tentacles whipped about in the waves, forming a giant cage that sought to drag the 10-meter yacht down into the abyss. Faced with this seemingly hopeless predicament, Qi Yuan stood calmly before the control terminal, entirely unrushed. "Do you really think I have no way to deal with you, giant squid?" Qi Yuan let out a cold huff and disengaged the manual aiming wheel of the Gatling. He strode to the console and pulled open the red heavy torpedo launch lever. If the Gatling could not pierce its mucus-covered hide, he would blast it open from the inside. From his system backpack, Qi Yuan retrieved the manual high-explosive torpedo, obtained from seizing Zhao Tianyu's gift pack and enhanced by system energy transformation. Torpedo loaded. Lock onto its maw. Fire. Whoosh. Launch tubes beneath the yacht opened instantly. A titanium torpedo roughly the size of a thermos, its tail flickering with crimson light, cut through the seawater, leaving a trail of white bubbles. It streaked straight toward the octopus's gaping maw, wide enough to swallow the yacht whole. Confusion flickered in the 6 blue eyes of the octopus leader. It could not comprehend what the incoming projectile was. The next instant, plop, the torpedo plunged precisely deep inside its tooth-lined throat. Qi Yuan leaned back casually in the pilot's chair and held up 2 fingers. 3, 2, 1. Detonate. Boom. A deep, thunderous explosion echoed from within the mechanical octopus's massive head beneath the waves. Extreme pressure and heat from the blast tore through all its biochemical tissue in an instant. The monster's movement froze. Its 6 blue eyes bulged outward as its head burst apart like a crushed watermelon. Splat. Shards of titanium alloy, biochemical mucus, and chunks of flesh sprayed across the water. Its headless, enormous body thrashed and twisted violently amid the waves a few more times before going limp. It sank hundreds of meters down into the ocean abyss. Thick clouds of black and dark green froth rolled across the sea surface. Instant kill. Clean and decisive. Once the leader perished, the remaining sea beasts that had been battering the yacht lost their mental command. Overcome with terror, they fled in all directions without looking back. Com returned to the bay. Splash. Right above where the giant beast had sunk, the seawater parted. A gigantic dark gold-grade treasure chest radiating brilliant sacred golden light slowly rose to the surface. "Qi-shun, it's a golden chest." Yilinger widened her eyes and cheered excitedly. Su Qinghan also broke into a relieved, thrilled smile. The high molecular salvage net unfurled, hauling the treasure chest onto the deck with its titanium cables. Qi Yuan stepped forward and threw open the heavy pure gold lock. Golden radiance lit up the entire sea, bright as daylight. Ding! Congratulations, host, for opening the Tier 2 Leader Dark Gold chest. You have obtained Ultimate Advancement Materials. Obtained Perfect Grade Vehicle Technology Blueprint. High-Strength Military Alloy Plate Blueprint Perfect, Grade ×1. Obtained Power Core Component. High-Energy Cold Fusion Power Core Fragment ×1. Obtained a Cross-Tier Gift Pack. Mutation Points plus 50,000. System notifications chimed one after another like bursting fireworks. The reward tally was complete. Slaying this Tier 2 leader granted him an unprecedented windfall of mutation points. Added to the points accumulated passively over 3 days within the Black Mist, alongside large transactions completed with other top survivors across the region. Qi Yuan opened his personal system panel in his mind. After this latest massive gain, the green numerical balance finally crossed an astonishing 6-digit threshold. Current mutation point balance, 100,860. A full 100,000 mutation points. All the titanium alloy plates, energy core components, and the 100,000 corresponding transformation points required for the upgrade were now fully acquired. The blood moon faded gradually. Along the horizon, faint pale dawn light appeared at last. The most dangerous first night of the ultimate trial in this survival world had finally come to an end. Qi Yuan stood on the second-level deck, surrounded by stacks of heavy titanium plates, refined steel, and the blueprint glowing with dark gold radiance. He stared at the satisfying 6-digit mutation point balance on his system panel. Drawing a deep breath, he issued the most important, monumental transformation command of the novel's first volume inside his mind. System, it's time. Let it reveal its true form. The morning sun rose completely, and golden sunlight filtered through thick clouds to spill across the ocean. The once turbulent dark red seawater shimmered with scattered flecks of gold beneath the bright sunlight. The first night under the blood moon in the survival world was over. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger wore tight-fitting high-molecular stab-resistant suits. The two women hurried up to the deck in the morning light. Working together with fluid movements, they hauled out resources they had obtained through large-scale trades and exchanges with other survivors over the past 3 days. Tier 2 titanium alloy plate times 100 high-strength refined steel plate times 300 also. There was the perfect grade high-strength military alloy plate blueprint Qi Yuan had just obtained from the loot crate, alongside the cold fusion power core component dropped by the second-order octopus chieftain. Crate after crate. Every single item was piled onto the forward deck at the very center of the yacht. Mountains of high-grade construction materials, strategic resources invaluable in the early stages, glinted with a cold, premium metallic sheen. Su Qinghan wiped a thin layer of sweat from her forehead. Unspeakable fervor sparkled in her large eyes as she reported excitedly to Qi Yuan. Captain, all nuclear panels, refined steel, alloy blueprints, and mutated core components have been fully tallied. All prerequisites for vehicle upgrades have been met. We can initiate the transformative evolution. Yi Linger's cheeks were flushed red. She hugged Ada tightly in her arms, her eyes wide as saucers, staring at Qi Yuan brimming with anticipation. They knew, after this great blood moon baptism, their yacht was about to undergo a stunning, epic-making transformation. Qi Yuan stood before the mountain of materials. He drew in a deep breath of crisp, fresh sea air. With a wave of his hand, he opened the system main interface projected from his wristband. On the prominent balance display, the glowing green numbers steadily and proudly flickered. Mutant point balance: 100, 860 points. A full 100,000 mutant points. A fanatical, domineering smile slowly tugged at the corners of Qi Yuan's mouth, without the slightest trace of hesitation. He pointed toward the pile of materials, roaring thunderously inside his mind. System: consume all titanium alloy plates. Spend 100,000 mutant points. Initiate the ultimate cross-generational, dominant transformative evolution for my double-armored yacht. Ding. Materials verified. Deduction of 100,000 mutant points commencing. Unique high-grade vehicle grand evolution system activated. Boom. A split second after the crisp system notification faded. A several-meter-tall, deep sapphire sci-fi energy pillar radiating ancient, noble high-dimensional pressure erupted from the yacht's central keel, shooting straight toward the distant clouds. Bearing overwhelming power, the pillar tore open a massive rift through the thick, blood-red clouds blanketing the sky. Blinding blue lights spread outward, instantly sweeping away the deadly black fog that had shrouded an area spanning 10 nautical miles for 3 full days and nights. The waters stretching to the horizon surged and roiled violently, whipping up towering tidal waves. At the heart of the blue light storm, the original 10-meter yacht began a breathtaking, blood-quickening structural reconstruction. Crack, crack. The hull frame stretched outward, expanding from 10 meters to 15, 20, then 30 meters. Vast sheets of second-order titanium alloy liquefied under the system's power, transforming into surging metal tides that enveloped, entwined, and reconstructed the vessel. Armor thickened. The double-deck framework stretched continuously. Weapon systems, defensive power grids, radar sensors. Every module reconstructed frantically amid golden radiance. An unprecedented aura of high-tech metallic might swept outward like a tempest. Within a 100-kilometer radius, all high-tier mutated sea beasts and sea serpents lurking in the deep ocean detected the sweeping radar signal. Crushed beneath the pressure emanating from this steel colossus, they trembled in terror, diving thousands of meters down to the abyssal seabed, daring not lift their heads for even a moment. The grand evolution reached the peak of its visual impact. Su Qinghan and Yi Linger gripped the control cabin window frame tightly. Their pupils shrank to pinpricks, utterly stunned by this creator-like divine power, their minds going completely blank. System: It is time to reveal its true form. Deep within the golden radiance, Qi Yuan murmured, his gaze profound. Several seconds later, the blinding blue light illuminating the entire sea abruptly contracted inward, sinking back into the newly formed metallic outer armor. The sea surface calmed once more. Only mist drifted slowly beneath the night sky, bathed in shimmering golden dawn sunlight spilling over the horizon. A sleek, pitch-black behemoth with streamlined contours and a cold nano-metallic sheen cut through the crimson waves. It let out a deep, soul-stirring horn as it surged forward. What kind of monster was this? The dazzling sci-fi blue light receded across the sea like a retreating tide. When the last wisp of pale blue radiance faded into the cold, black metal hull, the whole stretch of ocean fell into dead silence beneath the rising sun. An all-or-nothing gamble costing 100,000 mutant points, bolstered by countless rare high-grade materials, had finally delivered this earth-shattering cross-generational payoff. The original delicate 10-meter double-armored yacht, vulnerable against giant sea monsters, was gone without a trace. In its place stood a genuine maritime steel leviathan, permeated with the intertwined aura of destruction and futuristic technology. Ding! Cross-generational structural transformation complete. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the rare unique war vehicle, fully enclosed heavy armored assault speedboat. The system's crisp, electronically tinged announcement reverberated inside Qi Yuan's head. Its dimensions had expanded drastically to an intimidating scale, 25 meters long and 8 meters wide. Its full load displacement surged upward. The entire hull was clad in matte black nanopolymer wave-absorbing armor, cold and lightless. This armor was unyielding as bedrock. It could evade scanning from most low-tier radar systems, like a phantom assassin lurking within the darkness. The bow was shaped into an extremely sharp, blade-like streamlined form built to slice through waves. On the forward deck, the ferocious 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling cannon had been optimized by the system, seamlessly housed within a retractable bulletproof compartment. Beneath the bow, 2 parallel rows of lethal miniature high-explosive torpedo tubes peeked out faintly. Yet the most awe-inspiring section was the main cockpit and living quarters. The original 2-story structure had been completely expanded into a more than 10-meter-long, fully enclosed advanced living fortress. Encircling the space were 360-degree panoramic observation windows forged from high-strength, transparent bulletproof glass. Glinting under sunlight, they embodied the ultimate blend of opulence and brutal industrial aesthetics seen only on interstellar warships in futuristic films. At the stern, 4 thick, barrel-sized fusion turbine waterjet thrusters hummed faintly with pale, blue plasma halos, primed for action. Is this really our ship? Standing on the spacious forward deck lined with premium anti-slip mats, Su Qinghan reached out with trembling pale hands to touch the cold, heavy black armor wall radiating overwhelming pressure. Her breathing quickened sharply, disbelief filling her beautiful eyes. This was no simple raft or survival yacht from a survival game. It was a doomsday assault craft capable of facing off against an entire small naval fleet in modern combat. Yi Linger's reaction was even more dramatic. Her legs buckled, and she plopped down onto the deck. She covered her mouth with her small hands, darting her eyes back and forth between the deck and panoramic windows. She was so overwhelmed by this epoch-making sight, she could not utter a single word. Not only the 2 young women. Even Qi Yuan's heart hammered wildly as he gazed upon this war beast he had forged with his own hands. For 3 long days, he had risked his life hunting monsters within the black fog, even outwitting powerful competitors across the region to collect blueprints. Now, all that effort had yielded the perfect, ultimate reward. Out with the old, in with the new. This was the ultimate joy of building and upgrading. Qi Yuan took a deep breath. He strode forward with long, powerful legs and entered the vast, luxurious cyberpunk-style main control cabin. Inside, the air remained fresh at a comfortable temperature. Ergonomic leather electric seats lined the front of the main control console. Streams of data scrolled endlessly across the large, curved holographic radar display. Qi Yuan sat firmly in the captain's main seat. His hands closed gently yet resolutely around the cold titanium control lever, the symbol of absolute authority over this warship. A cold, confident, arrogant grin spread slowly across his face. This, Qi Yuan stroked the lever and whispered, is the absolute vessel of truth. With the fully enclosed heavy armored assault speedboat, nothing in the shallow sea could threaten him anymore. He was the sole tyrant ruling these waters. Just as Qi Yuan savored the sense of absolute security that came with total command, and Su Qinghan and Yi Linger recovered from their shock, eager to explore the massive warship. Beep, 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 beep. Without warning, a blinding, enormous deep red alarm marker burst onto the curved central holographic radar screen in the control cabin. The shrill, urgent alarm instantly shattered the tranquility of the early morning. Warning: extremely high energy biological signature detected ascending rapidly. Distance: 30 meters below surface. Qi Yuan's gaze sharpened. On the holographic underwater perspective radar, beneath the dark, frigid sea surface, a massive shadow, even larger than the 25-meter assault speedboat, surged upward. Driven by ravenous hunger and unbridled rage, it carried a bloodthirsty killing intent. A gaping mouth several meters wide opened, lined with 3 rows of serrated inward curving fangs. Though the blood moon was fading and sunlight spilled across the waves, this starved second-order peak mutated great white shark wielded mountainous bulk. Driven by the urge to destroy everything, it charged upward from hundreds of meters deep, aiming to sink its teeth into the relatively flat bottom armor of the assault speedboat in a reckless, all-out attack. Deep within the cold abyssal depths, underwater currents churned violently. The second-order mutated great white shark, over 25 meters long and comparable in mass to a heavy freight locomotive, surged upward like a black depth charge, bearing tremendous underwater momentum. In the shark's simple mind, governed solely by hunger and slaughter instinct, the black metal object floating on the waves was merely a slightly larger tin can with a tough outer shell. Its bite force reached dozens of tons, powerful enough to shear a 100-ton iron sailing vessel clean in half. It believed one single bite would tear this black prey apart, exposing tender human flesh within for a feast. Splash! The shark's abyss like moss stretched wide. Pale fangs as long as an adult's arm curved inward, casting chilling glints beneath the water. Thud! A thunderous dull crash echoed through the seawater, akin to 2 continental plates colliding far beneath the waves. The shark's jaws clamped down with overwhelming force onto the matte black nano-wave-absorbing armor covering the speedboat's hull base. It closed its eyes, anticipating the familiar sound of metal tearing and the rush of prey's blood. Yet the scene it imagined never came to pass. Crunch, snap. A shrill, teeth-grating crack far louder than the impact exploded inside the shark's jaws in a chain reaction. Time seemed to stand still. The 100-ton fully enclosed heavy armored assault speedboat swayed only faintly upon the water after enduring the full force of the collision, barely generating a subtle ripple scarcely visible to the naked eye. It stood firm like an ancient reef anchored to the seabed. On the surface of the speedboat's nano-armor beneath the waves, nothing remained but a faint pale scratch smudged with seaweed slime. Not a single dent, even 1 millimeter deep, marked the metal. By contrast, the once invincible second-order mutated great white shark suffered the brutal backlash of physics. Most of its proud fangs, capable of crushing refined steel, snapped clean off at the roots. Broken teeth mixed with scorching dark red blood flooded its mouth, staining a vast stretch of seawater. Ayu, Aowo agony tearing through its senses, the shark let out an inhuman, distorted wail. It released its grip abruptly. Its mountainous black body twisted and convulsed violently in the frigid seawater. Massive tail fins slammed against the sea surface, churning 7-meter-high blood-tinged waves. As it writhed, the blood-red eyes once filled with ferocious bloodlust now betrayed a profound, confused fear toward the black metal craft. Its limited intellect could not comprehend why every ship in these waters crumbled easily beneath its jaws. Yet this black object not only resisted its bite, but shattered its own teeth. Inside the sealed futuristic control cabin, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger's tense nerves relaxed the instant they viewed the underwater feed displayed on the holographic screen. Watching the giant shark rolling in agony, half its teeth lost and leaking blood, they could not help but burst out laughing simultaneously. The stifling atmosphere of mortal danger vanished completely, swept away by this stark, comical contrast. This silly fish, did it take our ship for a chew toy? Yi Linger covered her mouth, her eyes crinkling into curved crescents. Su Qinghan pressed her lips together, her gaze filled with awe toward the assault speedboat's defensive capabilities. Such toughness was practically overpowered. Qi Yuan leaned back into the soft leather captain's chair. He watched the shark twisting in agony below, already attempting to turn and flee toward deeper waters. No amusement crossed his expression. Instead, a cold, ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. Using my ship as a chew toy? A frigid sneer tugged at Qi Yuan's lips. You clearly do not understand the meaning of defeat. To attack recklessly, break your teeth on the armor, then attempt to slip away? There was no such convenient deal in this world. Since this second-order mutated sea beast had delivered itself to his doorstep, he would gladly claim its high-grade crystal core, sturdy mutated shark hide, and highly flexible cartilage. Qi Yuan tapped the futuristic control panel twice rapidly. His gaze locked firmly onto the massive shark shadow, turning to dive and escape into the deep sea. Without hesitation, his long, powerful index finger pressed down hard upon a red physical trigger button hidden beneath a crystal cover. It was marked with a blood-red skull emblem on the far right of the console. Click! A faint, dull mechanical latch echoed within the control room. Immediately afterward, on the underside of the vessel, at the exact spot the shark had bitten the matte black underwater armor, two heavy, smooth nano armor panels slid silently apart to the left and right amid the low hum of machinery. 6 rows of pitch-black launch tubes radiating a menacing cold light slowly revealed their lethal fangs beneath the wash of seawater. 6 rows of black launch tubes locked relentlessly onto the second-order mutated great white shark desperately diving to escape beneath the dim sea surface. Inside the control cabin, a red targeting ring locked onto its form across the holographic display. A crisp beep echoed as the light shifted from red to green. Launch miniature self-guided high-explosive torpedoes. Qi Yuan leaned back in the leather seat, his tone as calm as if he were ordering morning tea. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 dull underwater pressure releases resounded. 3 streamlined torpedoes, their tails flickering with deadly crimson light. They burst through the seawater in an instant. They dragged 3 straight, pale trails of bubbles through the frigid ocean. They clung to the giant shark like a curse and streaked straight toward its massive frame. The mutated shark sensed the fatal threat closing in from behind. It thrashed its tail wildly, attempting to twist away using water currents. But the miniature self-guided torpedoes moved far too fast. Almost immediately after launch, boom, 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 3 deafening underwater thunderclaps exploded deep beneath the waves in quick succession. Gigantic water columns shot skyward. The extreme heat and overwhelming shock waves unleashed by the blasts tore 3 gruesome wounds, each over 2 meters wide, into the shark's tough, mutated hide. Ow! The mutated shark could not even let out a complete cry of agony. Its 25-meter-long, multi-ton colossal body was ripped apart from the inside out. It was by the devastating power of the deep-water, high-explosive torpedoes. Countless chunks of flesh and debris scattered everywhere. Dark red blood mixed with shredded internal organs rained down across the sea, staining hundreds of meters of ocean surface a pungent scarlet. Ding! Slain second-order mutated giant shark. Mutation points plus 500. Ding! Automatic salvage net activated. Recovered high-energy shark cartilage times 10, mutated giant shark crystal core times 1. Qi Yuan glanced at the scrolling data, then looked away with satisfaction. By now, faint dawn lights spread along the horizon. The rising sun strove to pierce the heavy blood-red clouds. The violent magnetic field brought by the blood moon catastrophe was gradually weakening. Yet across this vast shallow sea, countless sea monsters lingered densely packed. Driven restless without the blood moon's buff, they churned amid the blood-stained waves, devouring the corpses of their fallen kin. They let out spine-chilling roars. Qi Yuan checked his wristband. This was the final window to harvest experience from the catastrophe. Once the sun crested fully above the horizon, these mobile sources of mutation points and materials would dive back into the abyss. He would never find such densely packed monster swarms to farm again. A blaze of fervor ignited in Qi Yuan's eyes. He gripped the titanium steering wheel, the symbol of absolute command, firmly in both hands. His right foot slammed the thrust throttle beneath the console all the way to the limit. Roar! The 25-meter fully sealed heavy armored assault speedboat let out a terrifying roar. It was as if an ancient behemoth had broken free from its chains. The 4 fusion turbine water jet thrusters at the stern cranked power to maximum. They spewed several meters of twisted, searing ghostly blue plasma flame. Splash! The boat's knife-sharp black bow cleaved the ocean, throwing up towering white waves 4 to 5 meters high. This steel leviathan surged forward across the blood-tainted sea like a drawn black sword, hurtling forth with suffocating momentum. 40 knots, 60 knots, 80 knots. Within mere seconds, the assault speedboat's velocity shattered the terrifying threshold of 80 knots, approximately 150 kilometers per hour. At such speed, The 100-ton armored war machine carried enough kinetic energy to crush anything in its path. Qinghan, Linger, hold tight. Today, we ride a wild storm across the open sea. Qi Yuan laughed loudly as he twisted the steering wheel, steering the speedboat straight into the endless swarms of sea monsters ahead. Bang, 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 crunch. He did not slow down in the slightest. First-order mutated bone fish and deep-sea vipers. They were fearsome to ordinary survivors with bodies 3 to 5 meters long. They met the nano-armored bow of the assault speedboat. Like fragile eggs colliding with a speeding high-speed train, they lacked any means of resistance. The overwhelming kinetic impact smashed, crushed, and obliterated them instantly. Body fragments flew amid the surging waves flanking the vessel. The speedboat carved a 10-meter-wide, bloodied, empty channel straight through the thickest cluster of monsters. Yet this was far from the war vessel's full potential. Qi Yuan slapped the main control panel. Activate omni-directional fire net. Full deployment. Hidden hatches on the foredeck slid open. A ferocious 6-barreled Gatling Vulcan cannon rose into position. Infrared targeting rays swept frantically across the water. Rat-a-tat-ta-ta. Golden streams of lethal gunfire blazed beneath the morning sun. At a terrifying rate of 6,000 rounds per minute, it mercilessly mowed down sea monsters attempting to flee on both sides. Meanwhile, miniature missile launch racks along the boat's flanks raised completely. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Small high-explosive missiles trailed plumes of flame, scattering like falling blossoms into distant monster hordes. They erupted into massive fireballs one after another. This was an ultimate feast of harvesting, blending raw speed and overwhelming firepower. The heavy speedboat weaved violent S-shaped maneuvers across the sea, charging recklessly through enemy ranks. Gatling fire scoured the waves. Missiles cleared swathes of foes. Hull impact crushed all who stood in the way. Qi Yuan charged back and forth through the dense sea monster swarm, turning these shallow waters into an endless graveyard for mutated marine beasts. System notifications blared continuously inside his mind in a constant, pleasant stream. Mutation points and high-grade materials poured in at a breakneck pace. Seated in the passenger and rear seats, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger watched countless chunks of flesh fly. They witnessed the unstoppable firepower display on the screens. Both girls breathed rapidly, faces flushed, their eyes filled with awe and astonishment toward this powerful man. The catharsis of heavy ordnance sweeping all opposition. The sense of security that came from overlooking every monster felt deeply exhilarating. Half an hour of frantic high-speed navigation and carnage passed. The speedboat finally broke through the last dense monster swarm. The sea stretched wide and open ahead. Just as Qi Yuan prepared to slow down and tally the spoils, beep, 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 beep. The curved holographic radar screen at the center of the main console suddenly flashed a blinding jet-black warning light. It was 10 times larger than the alert triggered by the giant shark earlier. The alarm shrilled more urgently and sharply than ever. It carried an unsettling tremor. Qi Yuan snapped his gaze toward the open water ahead. Somewhere in the distance, seawater churned and sank into a massive vortex over 100 meters wide, forming rapidly on the ocean's surface. A terrifying biological energy signature, far exceeding that of any second-order creature, rose slowly from the pitch-black depths of the whirlpool. A crimson system warning box popped up instantly in the center of the screen. Warning! Warning! Detected the final hidden boss of the Blood Moon sea monster tide, deep-sea Leviathan juvenile. Rumble! The 100-meter-wide super vortex raged violently atop the waves. Surrounding seawater seemed siphoned away by an invisible, terrifying force. It formed a bottomless black funnel. At the heart of crushing water pressure, a colossal shadow of unimaginable scale emerged from the deepest ocean trenches. Alongside a low dragon-like roar that reverberated enough to rupture eardrums, it burst forth from the waves. This beast stretched over 50 meters in length, its body covered in thick, ancient scales resembling black wrought iron. Its horned head was larger than a 3-story villa. Cold, emotionless vertical pupils glinted with destructive light that scorned all living things. It was the final hidden boss spawned by the system at the catastrophe's climax, the deep-sea Leviathan juvenile. As its enormous body surfaced, it forced upward a towering tsunami wall more than 10 meters high, as tall as a 10-story building. Bearing unstoppable, overwhelming momentum, it crashed straight toward Qi Yuan's 25-meter assault speedboat. Faced with this mythic apocalyptic beast's crushing aura, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger in the passenger seat paled instantly. They were barely able to draw breath. Next to the 50-meter Leviathan, the imposing assault speedboat looked like a flimsy black metal toy ready to be crushed. This was the ultimate, seemingly hopeless trial of despair the shallow sea reserved for all surviving humans. Standing before the main console, Chi Yuan faced the behemoth without a flicker of fear or hesitation in his dark eyes. Only unrestrained greed and fervor toward this top-tier prey and priceless loot burned within him. 50 meters long, ancient scaled hide. Chi Yuan licked his lips and let out a scoff. How much high-density military armor material will this drop? You think you can make a meal out of me? You have no idea what true dimensional suppression means. Chi Yuan slammed both hands onto the console's holographic keyboard. He ignored the smaller missiles and Gatling guns with comparatively limited firepower. His fingers slid open the red and black guarded safety cover at the top of the main screen, unlocking access to the ultimate weapon authority. Main gun, disengage safety locks. Miniature electromagnetic railgun. Commence charging. This was the strongest ace up his sleeve, granted by the system when he upgraded the yacht into the fully sealed heavy armored assault speedboat. At his command, the black forward deck of the assault speedboat split open from the center. A 3-meter-long sci-fi cannon built around two thick high magnetic rails rose slowly, pushed upward by hydraulic arms. Simultaneously, power from the boat's fusion thrusters diverted instantly. Massive nuclear energy surged through superconducting cables inside the hull. It flooded the railgun's energy storage matrix. Crackle, crackle, visible blue high-energy electric arcs leaped and intertwined between the rails. They emitted shrill, unsettling ionization noise, a world-ending energy fluctuation warping the surrounding space. It gathered rapidly at the gun muzzle. Roar! The deep-sea Leviathan sensed the lethal power building against it. It roared in rage, hurling its massive body upward above the waves. It opened an abyss like maw wide enough to swallow the entire vessel. Carrying gusts of bloody stench and the towering tsunami wall, it lunged relentlessly toward the assault speedboat. Charging complete. Target locked. Chi Yuan's gaze turned sharp as a blade, fixed on the gaping jaws closing in. His finger pressed hard onto the glaring red firing button. Turn to ashes. Boom! There was no deafening gunpowder detonation, only a space-splitting sonic boom surpassing the speed of sound countless times over. A blue electromagnetic beam, as thick as a water barrel and too brilliant for the naked eye to behold. It tore across the blue ocean in a thousandth of a second, carrying kinetic energy equivalent to hundreds of thousands of tons of explosives. It struck the airborne deep-sea Leviathan square in the head with unstoppable force. No resistance, no stalemate. The ancient wrought iron scales, reputed impervious to high-explosive torpedoes, instantly vaporized upon contact with the railgun's ultra-high temperature. The high-velocity beam. The blue beam never slowed. It pierced the Leviathan's maw and tore straight through its skull and upper torso. Splurt, Su Qinghan and Yi Linger stared in stunned disbelief, minds reeling blank. This 50-meter super boss, the ultimate nightmare of the shallow sea, did not even get a chance to roar or unleash its special abilities. Its giant, sturdy head and half its body exploded into clouds of charred flesh and blood mist under this technologically advanced dimensional strike. Instant kill. Absolute firepower supremacy. The Leviathan's remaining lower torso crashed heavily onto the sea. It triggered surging bloodied waves before sinking limply toward the abyssal depths. Other sea monsters lingering nearby, hoping to scavenge scraps, witnessed this godlike blast. Terrified out of their wits, they fled frantically and vanished in the blink of an eye. After 3 full days of raging blood moon chaos, the shallow sea fell into complete silence and stillness at last. Ding! Cross-tier instant kill on the final hidden boss, Deep-Sea Leviathan Juvenile. System calculating ultimate loot payout. Chi Yuan paid no heed to the constant stream of notifications. His eyes locked onto the waters where the Leviathan's remains sank. Amid swirling blood, a massive treasure chest radiating dazzling, sacred golden light surfaced slowly amid the ripples. Heart racing, Chi Yuan maneuvered the mechanical arm to haul the heavy golden chest onto the foredeck. Click! Chi Yuan roughly flipped open the golden latch. Inside the chest lay no piles of materials or gleaming weapons. Only an ancient nautical chart crafted from some unknown high-dimensional beast hide, shimmering with faint blue magical luminescence. Chi Yuan reached out and lifted it. When he read the title printed upon its surface, his breath hitched slightly. Golden Nautical Chart, Storm Sea Region. As the deep-sea Leviathan's enormous remains sank fully into the endless abyss, The churning blood waves upon the sea gradually calmed. Along the horizon, the thick crimson clouds that had oppressed all survivors for 72 hours finally receded like a tide. A strand of warm golden sunlight sliced through the lingering lethal haze, spilling across the glistening blue ocean. Dawn had broken. The suffocating nightmare of death looming over every survivor in the region for 3 full days was finally gone. Thud. The instant sunlight touched the waves. The system's cold mechanical voice, tinged with solemn grandeur, boomed inside the minds of every surviving player in the shallow sea. Regional announcement. The ultimate catastrophe event, Blood Moon Sea Monster Tide, has officially concluded. Post-disaster data collation in progress. Initial number of participants deployed in this region, 10 million. Current surviving population, 2,800,000. Survival rate, less than 30%. Hearing these grim, bloody statistics, the regional chat channel fell into a dead silence, filled with lingering terror among survivors. 10 million people, and fewer than 3 million lived. Over 7 million lives had been torn apart and devoured by rampaging sea monsters these past 3 days. They were buried forever beneath the frigid, boundless ocean. The elimination rate was cruelly brutal. I survived. I actually survived. I can't stop crying. It was horrific. I never want to experience waiting for death in the dark ever again. All my friends died. I hid inside a compartment beneath my raft and clung to life alone. The channel flooded with tearful words of relief from those who escaped catastrophe. Yet the system's mechanical alert did not stop. The Blood Moon Combat Kill Leaderboard for this catastrophe event will now be published. The top 10 players on the leaderboard will receive special resource gift packs distributed by the system. First place will receive a unique, exclusive title and cross-sea navigation clearance. The moment the announcement appeared, the regional channel, previously filled with wailing survivors, every person's attention was firmly drawn to the gleaming leaderboard suspended in mid-air, the Combat Power Leaderboard. This represented far more than mere glory. It was direct proof of strength. It was access to resources and absolute dominance across the shallow sea region. Data slowly refreshed across the holographic light curtain. 10th place, Wang Chong. First Order Sea Beast slain, 3. 9th place, 3rd place, Zhao Tianba. First Order Sea Beast slain, 8. 2nd place, Long Zhan, leader of the heavy sail fleet. First Order Sea Beast slain, 12. Upon seeing Long Zhan's ranking and statistics, players in the channel gasped collectively. During the Blood Moon event, Sea Beasts doubled in power. Ordinary survivors would only flee if they encountered even a single one. Yet Long Zhan had single-handedly taken down 12 First Order Sea Beasts. To regular players, this was a level of strength that seemed completely unattainable, true warrior status. Boss Long is incredible. This combat power makes him the pride of our region. 12 kills. Imagine all the materials he must have looted. Boss Long will surely rule the shallow seas soon. I bet first place belongs to some wealthy tycoon with an amazing starting bonus. He'll probably get 15 kills. But as everyone chatted and wildly guessed the top contenders' tally, a crisp ding echoed. At the very top of the leaderboard, the position glowing with dazzling, almost blinding dark gold light. A name materialized. It was followed by an outrageously incomprehensible string of numbers. In an instant, it stunned the 2,800,000 survivors of the entire region. First place, Chi Yuan. First/second order sea creatures slain, 9999 plus display limit reached. Special achievement, Slayer of the Deep Leviathan Juvenile, final hidden overlord of the shallow sea. Silence. Utter, dead silence. The entire regional chat channel froze the second these statistics popped up. It was as if time itself had been paused. Not a single scrolling comment appeared. Every survivor, refugees huddled on rickety wooden rafts nibbling hard bread, veteran players perched aboard iron boats who considered themselves powerful figures. They stared rigidly at their screens, eyes bulging. For nearly 30 seconds, every mind went completely blank. 9999 plus? Display limit reached? What kind of absurd, unbelievable numbers were these? Others risked everything, losing dozens of lives just to slay a dozen beasts. This one man's kill count had maxed out the system statistics panel entirely. And that title, Hidden Overlord, Leviathan Juvenile. Just hearing the name made it clear this was an epic boss capable of wiping out an entire fleet. And Chi Yuan had defeated it all alone? Boom. 30 full seconds later, the regional chat channel erupted like an active volcano. Whoa. Is data like this even humanly possible? System, is there a glitch? 9999 plus? Did he bomb sea creatures nonstop from the air? I'm speechless. I thought Boss Long's 12 kills were impressive, but they aren't even a fraction of Divine Chi's tally. Divine Chi, the undisputed top existence. This is absolute, overwhelming power. Where's that Zhou Bin who threatened to destroy Divine Chi's vessel earlier? Look at these results. Divine Chi could crush him and all his followers with minimal effort. Divine Chi, are you looking for extra crew members? I'll work tirelessly, begging only for spare basic blueprints to survive. More than 2 million people flooding the channel were utterly awed by Qi Yuan's godlike, overwhelming combat statistics. Whether filled with envy, jealousy, or fear, everyone flooded the feed with humble, fervent messages, paying homage to the name perched at the summit, watching over all living beings. Faced with such an insurmountable gap in strength, jealousy lost all meaning. Only endless admiration remained. Meanwhile, Qi Yuan, the focal point of the whole region's worship, reclined lazily on the leather pilot's seat of his assault speedboat. He sipped warm tea freshly brewed by Su Qinghan and bathed in sunlight. Watching the players spamming compliments and pleading for discarded low-tier blueprints to stay alive, a teasing smirk slowly tugged at Qi Yuan's lips. He set down his teacup and tapped quickly on the holographic keyboard. Then, across the region, visible to millions, a top-priority server announcement sent by Qi Yuan appeared. That single line of text instantly ignited the community once more. Amid the fervent admiration of 2,800,000 survivors, a dark gold, highest authority global announcement slowly materialized at the very top of the regional chat hall. Sender, Qi Yuan. Quit begging and complaining in the channel for blueprints. I do own discarded schematics. But even if I generously gave them away free, you could sell every last possession and exhaust all your resources, and still not gather enough materials to craft one single deck panel from my ship. Qi Yuan's words carried a calm tone without insults. Yet they felt like a bucket of 50 below zero ice water dumped over the heads of everyone dreaming of clinging to a powerful ally and obtaining blueprints. The flood of messages across the channel briefly halted. Shortly after, resentment and wounded pride stirred within self-proclaimed expert players and minor faction leaders, who commanded assembled sailboats. They had struggled relentlessly in this cruel world to earn small advantages. Now they felt utterly dismissed, their fragile pride severely challenged. Qi Yuan, you're far too arrogant. Stop putting on airs. A player with the ID vice president of the Wild Dragon Society finally snapped and sent a sarcastic message. We acknowledge your incredible kill record, but everyone only entered this survival game a few days ago, and resource output remains limited. You merely got lucky, opening treasure chests to find steel pipes and firearms to hunt countless sea monsters. We all have the same 2 hands and 1 head. Why claim we couldn't afford materials for one piece of your deck even after spending everything we own? If your legendary, invincible warship exists, post a photograph for everyone to see. Don't just boast empty-handed. His message prompted many envious players to chime in, and the chat feed exploded again. Exactly, anyone can talk big. Maybe that 99.99 plus tally is an exploit from a terrain bug, right? I command hundreds of followers and hold 10,000 units of lumber. I refuse to believe I cannot build one section of your deck. Qi Yuan, show us proof instead of hiding away. The channel filled with doubts and provocation. They ached to see Qi Yuan humbled, to prove he was not an untouchable deity. Seated inside the cockpit, Qi Yuan read the stubborn skeptics' messages and let out a mocking chuckle. These short-sighted people could never fathom the revolutionary, era-leaping technological advantage granted by his fully upgraded system. Their understanding of the world remained stuck to rickety planks and rusted scrap metal. A primitive age reliant on simple weapons. Very well. Qi Yuan felt no anger. If these people insisted on seeking humiliation and demanded evidence, he would graciously satisfy their desperate curiosity. Qi Yuan twisted around, angled the camera built into his wristband toward the main control cabin, and pressed the shutter. Click. The foreground of the photo displayed the spacious, fully enclosed, temperature-regulated luxury main control room stretching over 10 meters long, lined with premium anti-slip carpeting. Ergonomic leather electronic control seats stood neatly arranged, radiating refined luxury. Most striking of all was the half-wall-sized, curved holographic radar screen directly before Qi Yuan, glowing pale blue with endless streams of high-dimensional data scrolling rapidly across its surface. Beside it rested a cold metallic titanium steering wheel heavy with an aura of destructive power. In the background, seen through the 360-degree bulletproof panoramic windows glinting under morning sunlight, rested on the forward deck, the 3-meter-long futuristic miniature electromagnetic railgun that had single-handedly eliminated the Leviathan juvenile 50 meters beneath the waves only moments earlier, thin wisp of smoke still curling from its barrel. Ding! The photograph uploaded successfully. The channel, previously overflowing with hostile messages, fell into absolute silence the instant the image loaded. This lull lasted far longer than the last. For a full minute, not a single comment appeared. All survivors' worldviews were completely shattered by what they witnessed. They glanced at their barely functional wooden rafts and rusted metal scraps acquired through immense effort, then stared back at the holographic radar, automated luxury seats, and smoking railgun in the photograph. Every mind ground to a halt. My God. Is this the cockpit of an interstellar battleship? Are we all even playing the same survival game? I thought he sailed a large wooden vessel, but he's piloting what amounts to a starship. Where's the person who claimed he could build your deck? Speak up. Can you forge titanium bulletproof glass with your stacks of rough lumber? I'm heartbroken. Divine Chi told the truth. Even trading everything we own, we couldn't afford a single screw from one of his seats. Sir, do you need anyone to scrub your decks? I'll bring my own cleaning cloth. Those who had voiced accusations earlier vanished without a word. The vice president, who'd boasted of hundreds of subordinates, quietly exited the channel, terrified Chi Yuan would track him down. This was unparalleled display of overwhelming superiority, a merciless reality check. The photograph acted like a massive sledgehammer, smashing the pride and arrogance of every skeptic across the region and sending it sinking to the bottom of the ocean. This was what it meant to hold power far beyond your opponent's comprehension. Chi Yuan watched the flood of desperate, admiring messages and calmly closed the chat interface. The satisfaction from this mental overmatch even surpassed the thrill of annihilating sea beasts with cannon fire. First mate, engage autopilot. Prepare breakfast. Chi Yuan stretched, ready to return to the leather sofa to rest. Suddenly, a soft ding echoed from the main console's holographic radar screen. Out on the empty, storm-scoured shallow sea waters, the radar picked up an extremely faint life signature at its maximum detection range. Chi Yuan zoomed in the feed via the high-definition camera. Not far away, floating on the ocean atop a splintered plank broken during last night's blizzard, lay a small fuzzy creature barely bigger than a palm, its shape indistinct. Chi Yuan narrowed his eyes. During yesterday's catastrophic blood moon disaster and freezing storm, an event that killed countless second-order sea leviathans, this seemingly defenseless tiny creature had endured tsunamis, freezing temperatures, and the deadly corruption mist. It had survived. Chi Yuan gently turned the steering wheel. The speedboat cut smoothly through blue seawater, tracing an elegant arc as it drifted toward the floating plank. The vessel's enormous shadow swallowed the tiny piece of driftwood entirely. Splash! Chi Yuan activated the control panel. A mechanical arm extended from the boat's hull. A polymer salvage net descended, wrapped around the plank and its passenger, and hoisted everything steadily onto the wide forward deck. Chi Yuan walked out of the control cabin with Su Qinghan and Yi Linger onto the deck. Upon drawing near, the three realized the creature resembled a Siberian husky puppy from Chi Yuan's old world, Blue Planet. Its black and white soft fur clung thinly to its emaciated frame after soaking endlessly in frigid seawater. It trembled with eyes squeezed shut, clearly starved to the brink, lacking the strength even to whimper. Yet the most bizarre, shocking detail was its neck. 3 identical puppy heads sprouted side by side from its body. Wow, what an adorable puppy. Yi Linger, naturally fond of all cute creatures, immediately softened. She ignored the strangeness of its 3 heads, knelt down carefully, and lifted the shivering 3-headed husky from the cold salvage net into her arms. Divine Chi, it looks so miserable, nearly starving to death. Yi Linger lifted her teary eyes, her face filled with pleading. Can we take it in? Chi Yuan folded his arms and looked down at the strange beast. In this resource-scarce apocalypse, if this were an ordinary dog, he would have tossed it back into the sea without hesitation. He had no interest in supporting idle people, let alone a dog that only wasted food. Yet, this creature had survived under the blood moon, which meant it was by no means an ordinary beast. As Chi Yuan studied it, the cold, crisp notification of the system suddenly echoed inside his mind. Ding. Unknown mutated life form detected. Target scanning complete. Species confirmed. Mutated baby Cerberus. Growth potential. SSS rank descendant of a mythic calamity beast, capable of limitless evolution. Current status. Severely starved, critically wounded. The host may establish the first life bond and fully tame it by feeding high-energy rations. Upon hearing the system's scan report, an unmistakable blaze of excitement flared within Qi Yuan's dark eyes. SSS rank growth potential. A descendant of a mythic calamity beast. This was no stray puppy. It was a future mythic war beast powerful enough to devour heaven and earth and guard an entire sea region. He had struck an unbelievable jackpot. This was a tremendous windfall. Linger feed it. A smile tugged at the corner of Qi Yuan's mouth. Without hesitation, he retrieved a premium high-energy sausage from his system storage, traded earlier from other survivors on the regional channel. It was crafted from first-order sea beast flesh, packed with immense biological energy. He tossed the sausage casually over to Yilinger. Yilinger let out a cheer and quickly tore open the wrapping. An enticing aroma drifted across the morning sea breeze. At the whiff of that rich high-energy scent, the three-headed puppy, which had lain listlessly with its eyes shut awaiting death, abruptly lifted all three heads in an instant. Green light, born of desperate hunger, ignited in its 6 round eyes. A woo. It did not even wait for Yilinger to hold the sausage out. All 3 heads surged forward simultaneously, snatching the high-energy sausage, thicker than its own head, straight from Yilinger's grasp. Munch, munch, munch. Wild, ravenous chewing resounded across the deck. In less than 3 seconds, the energy-rich premium sausage was completely devoured amid squabbling between the 3 heads. Even the packaging was licked until it shone. Burp. After consuming the high-energy food, the faint life force lingering within the 3-headed pup surged and recovered at a startling rate, inflating rapidly like a balloon. Its once gaunt frame visibly filled out. Its damp black and white fur grew sleek and lustrous. It wriggled free from Yilinger's embrace and bounded happily twice across the spacious titanium alloy deck. Shortly after, it seemed to figure out who the true master of this vessel was. On stubby, clumsy legs, it trotted over to Qi Yuan's feet and plopped down. 3 fluffy heads tilted upward at the same time. 6 clear eyes fixed steadily on Qi Yuan. The gaze that ought to carry the dignity and menace of a mythic beast now took on that famously vacant, earnest, foolish look characteristic of huskies. It even wagged its tiny tail frantically, trying to curry favor with Qi Yuan. A woo woof, it rubbed each of its 3 heads affectionately against Qi Yuan's calves, shielded by his stab-resistant suit, letting out pleading whimpers. Looking at this 3-headed hound blessed with SSS rank mythic potential, yet wearing such a silly husky-like expression, Qi Yuan's mouth twitched repeatedly. Was this truly a Cerberus from legend? Ding. Congratulations to the host. High-energy feeding complete. First life bond established. Mutated baby Cerberus successfully tamed. It is now the host's exclusive battle pet and shall never betray you. Please name your battle pet. Listening to the system prompt and staring down at the creature begging for pats with its goofy stare, Qi Yuan sighed and stroked his chin helplessly. You look so clever. From now on, your name is Adai. Woof woof. Adai barked excitedly, seemingly delighted with its new name. Still, it wanted to demonstrate its strength to its new master and prove it was far more than a freeloader. Adai suddenly spun around. The silly look on its 3 faces vanished, replaced by ferocious, violent snarls. Its gaze locked firmly on a rusted scrap iron plate weighing dozens of kilograms, left behind when they salvaged supplies in the corner of the deck. Huff! Adai drew a deep breath, its small chest swelling. Then the middle head opened wide. Boom! A mass of pitch-black hellfire, blazing with extreme heat as if capable of incinerating all evil in the world, erupted violently from its tiny jaws. The black flames streaked through the air and landed precisely upon the rusted iron plate. Sizzle! An incredible sight unfolded. Before the stunned eyes of Su Qinghan and Yilinger, the thick, sturdy scrap metal weighing dozens of kilograms could not resist for even a single second once touched by the hellfire. It melted and vaporized at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into bubbling molten iron that billowed thick white smoke across the deck. The terrifying temperature and destructive power sent a chill down anyone's spine. If this blast of fire struck a sea monster, it would burn straight through its body in an instant. After showcasing its mythic destructive power, Adai let out a proud burp that released a wisp of black smoke. It turned back, and all trace of its world-ending ferocity faded once more. That vacant, foolish husky expression returned. It trotted to Qi Yuan's feet, flopped onto its back on the deck with all 4 paws raised, exposing its soft belly. Wagging its tail, it stared up at him with triple the amount of that silly, pleading gaze, clearly hinting, "Master, wasn't that awesome? Come pet me." Qi Yuan laughed heartily at this divine beast with terrifying combat strength, yet a playful, goofy personality, full of contrast. He knelt down and gave each of its 3 heads a firm ruffle. With this battle pet of mythic potential guarding the vessel, his assault speedboat was now perfectly complete. Qi Yuan slowly stood. His gaze drifted past the large clear bay window toward the over 10-meter-long, fully enclosed bulletproof main living quarters. The space was empty apart from leather seats. Before the blood moon descended, survival had consumed all his time, leaving no chance for comfort. But now the great crisis in the shallow seas had passed, and his stock of mutation points and resources had reached an unprecedented high. It is time. An expectant smile curved Qi Yuan's lips. I will use this massive stockpile of newly acquired supplies to properly renovate my invincible maritime kingdom.